Hello and welcome back to the Raspberry 8 podcast. Firstly, Happy New Year, everyone. This is the first podcast of the year, so I'm wishing all of you guys a very good 2023. Today, I am rejoined by Sam Crook. For those who don't know who Sam is or who haven't checked out the first episode, Sam has dedicated the last 3.5 years of his life to running, managing, teaching at the Francis Ngannou Foundation, which is a social project set up by the MMA fighter Francis Ngannou in his home village of Batié in Cameroon. Last time I spoke to Sam, he'd only been out there for about 5 or 6 months. I spoke to him in late 2019, and now obviously he's been out there for over 3.5 years. So a lot has changed. I find his story incredibly interesting. Someone who is from the UK and has dropped everything to go and volunteer, teaching for free, essentially at this foundation, at this social project in this tiny village in Cameroon. And crazy, outside of anyone's comfort zone, and pretty inspiring what he's doing, bringing Jiu-Jitsu and helping change these kids' lives through Jiu-Jitsu. Was lucky enough to be joined by one of his top students, Franck, who he's over in the UK with at the moment, competing and trying to raise funds for the foundation. So a lot has changed with Sam and with the foundation since I last spoke to him. A lot has happened, obviously, so it was very, very good to catch up with him and hear more of his story. Like I've already mentioned, I find his story in general and the story of the kids and the families in this village incredibly inspiring. I think what he's doing is amazing, and it's always an honor to sit down and chat with him. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Check it out. So, firstly, Sam, thank you very much for joining me again.
Yeah, thanks for having us again.
How you been?
Good, been good. A lot's changed since the last time that we spoke.
I mean, I was just listening to the first episode on the drive here, and I mean, so much stuck out. Obviously, there's a really, really obvious stuff, which is since we last spoke, I think it was maybe November time in 2019, towards the end of the year, maybe. Around about that time, 2019. You might have been one of the last episodes I recorded in my studio, actually, before I left teaching and went to travel. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. So I was kind of intrigued as to because we know how that kind of 2020, 2021 went for the Western world, or all of the world. But how was the pandemic in a small village in Cameroon?
Well, so basically last time I spoke to you, I went back to Cameroon straight afterwards, or not long afterward, at the end of December 2019. And I was out there until, when did the pandemic was March, right? Started in March? Yeah, that's when like everything started closing down. So it must have been March that I come back here then, because I had a friend that, I had to go to a friend's funeral. So I booked a flight to come back in March.
In the UK?
Yeah, in the UK. And the day that I arrived, they closed the borders for Cameroon.
No way.
Yeah, the first day that I arrived back. So, or it was the first day. So when I got back, and they were announcing that, they were shutting all the gyms and everything like this. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I'd sent my coach a message the day before I flew back saying like, look, I'm supposed to be coming back. I'm not sure because people were talking about Corona and stuff. Like, I don't know if there's any point to come back. The gyms are going to be closed and stuff like that. They're like, no, I don't think, we won't be closing gyms and stuff like that. It's not going to go that far. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll pay for the flight. The next day, announcement, gyms close.
So you're in the UK in March. You've booked your flight back to Cameroon.
No, I was in Cameroon booking my flight to come to the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, after I left you in December, I was in Cameroon until March. One of my friends died. And I tried to book a flight to come back for his funeral here in the UK. At the same time, we were trying to arrange the flights and everything like that. Things were kicking off. It was escalating super fast. My coach was saying it would be fine. Like, the gym's still open. We can train still. It's like they can't force us to close, all this kind of stuff.
In Cameroon?
No, here.
Oh, over here.
Because I was asking him before coming back.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, it'll be fine. You come back, we'll train or whatever. It's not going to be a problem. I was like, all right, okay. Like, I booked my flights, and the next day after I booked my flights, it was, I think, the day before I actually flew, they were like, gym's closed. closed. I was like, fuck, closed. I was like, okay, right. So I was umming and ahhing, like, if I should actually come back or not. I was like in Cameroon thinking like, fuck, what if I get stuck there? I was like, if I go out to the UK, what if I get stuck? You know, my plan at that point was to stay in Cameroon, right? So I was like, I only want to go back for my friend's funeral, stay a couple of weeks and then come back, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck there like indefinitely or anything like that. It was a crazy situation because I was thinking like, shall I go? I even spoke to Francis' mum. I was in the city with Francis' mum like the day before I flew. And I think the same day that I flew, I had a flight in the nighttime. And she was like, why would you fly back if they're closing everywhere for Corona? You might get stuck there. I was like, oh, I think I'll be all right. You know, I think I'll manage. I was like, fuck it. I'll take the flight. Took the flight and I got stuck for 8 months in the UK.
Shit.
I couldn't go back.
Do you remember what day you flew?
I think it was, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was something like March the 16th.
It was like days before they basically closed all the borders.
The day that I arrived, they announced that they were going to be closing the gyms, closing the borders for Cameroon, all this time. So I was reading the Cameroon news every day to see what was going on. When I saw that they were going to fly, they were going to close the borders, I tried to book myself a flight immediately to go back the first day that I arrived because I was like, shit, I'm going to get stuck. Like, I have to go straight back. I tried to book a flight. And every time like I went to book the flight, I saw like flight options. I clicked book after. This flight is no longer available. Another one. This flight is no longer available. I was like, what the fuck? Then the prices were going up. It's like, this flight is no longer available. I'm just checking online. It's saying like, you know, advise against all travel to Cameroon and all this kind of stuff. So I was going mad, like trying to quickly get out of the country like the first day that I arrived. And in the end, I got stuck in the lockdown. I couldn't go back. They closed all the borders, you know, for any foreigners basically. So only residents could go back. And at that point, I didn't have a residency card for Cameroon yet. I was just on a visa. So I was here for a bunch of, like, the first couple of months was like crazy lockdown, right? In the house, you can't leave the house. Everyone was like freaking out.
No training, kind of stuff.
Nothing. Even the gym was closed. We trained outside on the grass.
Really?
Like me and one friend, like we just trained outside, just doing like an hour and a half sparring in the rain, on a rugby field. It was crazy. Like, and no one else wanted to train. Everyone else was like freaking out. Like, what are you guys doing? It's so dangerous. I'm like, it's not dangerous.
Well, I'm not sure if nobody wanted to train because of Corona or nobody wanted to train because you're rolling on the grass in pouring rain.
Yeah, first of all, no one wanted to train in the gym. No one was up for you know, taking the risk of being seen going into the gym and all that kind of stuff.
People were legit getting, it's such a crazy time now.
They were so afraid
fined or...
Everyone was like, so like, oh my God, if we get caught, we can't go in the gym. So I was like, fuck it, we'll just train outside. Like, no, I'll just wait until everything dies down, until everything settles down, wait a couple more weeks. I was like, what the fuck? So me and one guy who was crazy like me, we just trained basically every other day, like long sparring session outside with like people walking their dogs, like keeping their distance from us and stuff. Like, what the fuck are these two guys doing? Yeah, so, and then after a couple months, you know, still the borders not reopening and stuff. Even as things started to ease off here, the borders were still closed, so I couldn't get back into Cameroon.
Really?
So I got a job working in a local hospital as a physio. Obviously, I had to lie in my application because I was fully intending to go back to Cameroon as soon as the borders opened. Yeah. But I was like, in my application, like, I've always wanted to work in this hospital. It's always been my dream.
Because that's what you were doing before you went out.
I was a physio,
right?
yeah. I just finished my physio degree just before I left to go to Cameroon.
Wow.
So yeah, in my hometown, I was like, this is where I was born, this is where I grew up, and I've always wanted to work in my hometown, you know. I'd love to build a career.
All lies.
Yeah, I'd love to build a career in the NHS. And in my head, I was like 100% ready to drop it, like
as soon as the borders opened.
I just needed some money, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't just sit in the house like not knowing when they would reopen, how long I'd be there for. So yeah, it was a crazy situation. Then I was working there in the hospital, and one day I just dropped in my resignation letter. As soon as the borders opened, I booked a flight, given my, what was it, like 2 or 4 weeks notice, I can't remember. Yeah. And they were like, why are you going back to Cameroon? I thought you like were done there. Because I told them I'd been there. Yeah. I never told them like, oh, I'm supposed to be going back. Yeah. I was like, oh, I think, you know, I feel like going back and seeing how much we can develop the project kind of thing. And they're like, but didn't you say it was like not good or whatever, you know, because I had to like play it down like I'm definitely not going to go back. I'm here for good now, you know, because if they thought there was a chance of me leaving, they wouldn't have given me the job. So yeah, so I swindled my way into that job, and now they'll never give me a job again.
Burn your bridge on the way out.
I don't think I'll be getting a job there again. But I don't enjoy working in a hospital. Like, as a physio appealed to me as a jiu-jitsu guy, right? Because I always wanted to be like, I can't say I always wanted to be like, but for a number of years, before becoming a physio, I was interested to become like in healthcare, to get involved in healthcare as like a nurse. I wanted to be a nurse in the RAF, like a student nurse. It never worked out. I had like problems joining and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? I was like, well, physio, I can get like a partially funded physio degree, so I can afford to study that, you know, because you have bills and stuff. There's no way I can pay a $9,000 fee to go to uni. So end up choosing to do physio, thinking it would be like very sport related and everything like that, you know, that you could keep basically somehow be like a physio and a jiu-jitsu athlete at the same time. And in the end, you see it's like very scripted, like a predetermined way of treating people. And at NHS, you have like guidelines and a certain
tick boxes, and that's it.
Yeah. It's very tick boxes, and it's very, for me, it's like uninspiring, and there's no creativity. And I'm like a, let's say, creative or artistic person growing up. You know, I was always interested in art and art, photography, tattoo, whatever. You know, anything like horror movies, whatever, creative stuff. And then physio is not that. It's like it's not how I thought. You know, I thought you'd have a bit more freedom to do stuff. So I was like, this doesn't fit my personality to be like stuck in a box like this. You know, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I left and went back to Cameroon.
So that was after 8 months.
Yeah. So I went back. Oh, so the day that I actually got back, things started kicking off again for the second lockdown. So
in the UK.
Yeah. So as I handed in my notice for the physio job, they then announced that there's going to be another lockdown, and I had to change my flights because the lockdown was after my flights. Like, I had to beg for them to to allow me to leave sooner.
Yeah.
So that I could basically leave before they shut the borders again. And it was on the 5th of November, 2020 when I went back. So I was there from March until November in UK.
And just trapped here, like kind of away from your life.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was calling everyone every day, you know, on my lunch breaks at the hospital and stuff. I was calling the family, I was going behind the hospital, like call everyone, say like, how's it going? You know, everyone's going well. They think that I want to be here, you know, they're still paying me kind of thing, you know. And then I'd be making plans like, okay, I'll be going off on my lunch break to buy stuff for the kids to take back, put in my suitcase.
Wow.
Like, I had my suitcase packed for months, man, to go back. I was like buying things, adding stuff, you know, presents for people and stuff, like, oh, I need to take this back for the kids.
After 8 months, you must have been like Santa Claus coming back with this.
4 cases that were rammed. I had to pay like so much extra baggage. Wow. I had to do like, pay for the extra baggage cost on the flight. I think like we did some fundraising to help to pay for that because it was so expensive now.
Yeah.
But yeah, since then, I've been back in Cameroon. I've been coming back only for like a couple of weeks at a time, basically, like twice a year.
So what was the village affected by COVID at all?
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, isn't it?
It was affected by like the rules, like the regulations, more the same as everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Mostly it's like the changes in all the laws and, you know.
Did many people get ill over there?
They weren't testing anybody.
Okay.
They weren't testing anybody there. So
that's all of Cameroon, or just specifically in these small villages?
It's so corrupt. It's so corrupt there that you can't trust any government figures. Can just be completely made up.
Yeah,
completely made up. You never know, like, if they've really tested anyone.
Yeah, people
were super afraid that if they get tested for corona, that basically there's like rumors there going around at the time. Like, if you basically, people think that you have corona, like if you get tested at corona hospital, they'll basically take you into a room and inject you, which will kill you.
I mean, those rumors were going around the UK as well. But they're probably much more likely to be true in Cameroon.
I wouldn't say maybe more likely to be true, but for sure, everybody believe it there.
Really?
Everybody believe it. Like, that if you get found out that you might be like a corona case or whatever, that you could be like carted off in a body bag, basically. Wow. And put down as like a statistic.
Wow.
So everyone's like super afraid, like hiding everything. If they have like a cough, like don't go anywhere near any hospital. So no one would go anywhere near a hospital if they were not feeling well. Is
there a hospital in the village that you're in?
Yeah, there's a hospital, but it's not like what we'd call a hospital. It's like it's more like a car park.
Okay.
That's the closest thing I can think of.
I was not expecting that to be the word.
I was just trying to think, like, now that I'm here,
it's not like a hospital. It's more like a, I don't know,
multi-story car park.
Oh, really?
But one story. A one-story, multi-story car park. Like a car park with a roof.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. So it's like basically empty concrete, hallway with like empty concrete rooms. But it's like no electricity.
Wow.
Yeah, or they have electricity, but if there's a power cut, which there is like frequently, then there's no generator or nothing at the hospital, so they don't have any life support, anything like that. There's no, technology there. They have like one doctor who works there part-time. So you're like, oh, when's the doctor? Oh, he'll be here tomorrow. And you've got like someone just had a motorbike accident. There's no doctor there.
Jeez.
So, yeah. So it's not a hospital that which I would like to. I don't want to go there if I've got a serious problem.
Yeah.
I had like, minor stuff like I always take the kids to that hospital if I have malaria when I have malaria, or that's normally.
You had malaria?
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Did you have that before we spoke? I think we might have
had
spoken
it before in the past anyway, because I've been to Ghana, Tanzania a bunch of times. So yeah, but there it's like such a common thing. It's not even. It's not like a daunting illness or anything there. It's just like how you'd have a flu here.
Wow.
It's no different. It's so common. Everyone's always sick with malaria all the time. Normally they get better. You just take medication, like a couple of pills for 3 days, and then you're usually like on the mend. But that's the usual two suspects that you have. Like if someone's not feeling well, there is malaria and typhoid. So typhoid is basically from like eating contaminated water, drinking contaminated water, or eating contaminated food, which is super common there. We don't have like good sanitation. We don't have running water. People just like the way that the national I can't say like national protocol for washing hands, but like the way that they do it when you go to a restaurant or like a food store in the street, they'll bring you just like a bowl of water that you just kind of rinse your hand in. That's washing your hands. Yeah. You just dip your hand in cold water. You basically wet your hand. Yeah. And that's washed. So that's why you have so much typhoid.
Is that the same bowl that everyone else dips their hand
Sometimes.
in?
Sometimes I pass a bucket, like a small bucket of water. You just pass it around. Everyone just rinse their hand in the same bucket. Yeah. And then everyone's clean. Good to go. So,
brilliant. So was the jiu-jitsu still going on during when you were away and when you were stuck in the UK?
They closed the gym. They closed the foundation because they put in like regulations like no more than 30 people gathering in a room or something like that. I can't remember. It seems so long ago now. Yeah. It seems like 10 years ago.
Like, 2.5 years.
But yeah, the foundation was completely closed when I was there. But like some of the guys were sending me pictures like, this is when I knew that Franck was serious, and I had to stick with him, because he sent me a picture. I've still got it on my old phone or on my computer, which he took on like an old shitty phone, which all pixelated picture. Yeah, of him training outside on the mud with a bed sheet. Wow. For a mat. So him and his cousin put like a bed sheet on the ground and were doing like jiu-jitsu drills outside.
I mean, whilst you were training outside on the floor in the rain, they were basically doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I didn't expect them to do it. I thought they would like just not bother, but I'm not even there, and they're like, okay, let's put the mats out or put like a sheet out on the ground. Yeah. And in training, I was like, okay, these are my kind of people. Like, they're doing the same as I'm doing, like you said. So I was like, I can work. I need to stick with them,
I love the fact that, I bought some mats, some jigsaw mats, which I've never had. Yeah. To be able to train outside, drill with a dummy. I bought a dummy as well to train outside. I ended up resting my dog more than the dummy. At least it fights back.
People started getting crazy.
It's so funny how jiu-jitsu people just during that. I mean, some people were. I didn't step foot in a jiu-jitsu gym for 3 months from that first lockdown. I was like kept to all the rules until the athletes program came in like summer, June or July. But everyone was like rolling around outside on the grass or on mats.
Jiu-jitsu was like an illness, basically.
I love that internationally, everywhere in the world during the lockdown, everyone's found a way to still get a little bit of grappling in.
Yeah. Franck, dans le confinement, tu as fait le jiu-jitsu dur avec Darren, non? Même les dents. Les dents. Les tapis au salon. Ali, même au lit. Oh. They were doing like, they said even in the living room, they put like a mat on the lounge floor. They're doing jiu-jitsu on the bed.
So you got jiu-jitsu in the heart. That's how you know.
Yeah. But everyone was getting crazy, like trying to... Everyone was making their home gyms. Yeah. Going out of their way to make training tools and dummies and stuff like this and whatever. It's like people like on a crack withdrawal. I don't know.
Yeah,
Crazy.
pretty much.
Everyone was getting mad.
Pretty much. So you get back to Cameroon in towards the end of the year in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Are you straight back in? Are they running classes again in the foundation from when you get back?
When I got back, the gym was covered in dust, like completely. We had to deep clean the gym. It was like no one had even opened the place since I was gone. We got back.
I imagine no one had opened the place since you've been gone, pretty much.
Some other guys had keys, but like
Yeah.
I don't think they'd done anything in there. You know, it was completely like shut down. So we had to like deep clean it and everything. There was like so much dust. When you close, there's so much dust in Cameroon anyway. You know, even when you sweep on a daily basis, it's like loads of dust because the wind blows it all in and everything like that. It's super in the dry season. There's no rain for months, so it's like the air is like super dusty. So imagine it's like that for 8 months. You know, so we cleaned it up. Made some posters to do like a reopening to like let people know like it's back on and everything like this. Organized like a little party, you know, made food for the kids and stuff like that. And then we reopened. I think it was like, I don't know, like 17th of November or something like that.
Nice.
So like 10 days after I got back.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of trainings and stuff like that, but not like classes and stuff. Classes started like 10 days after I got back.
And was everyone keen to
Crazy.
get back?
We had like 70 people on the mat. Like it was
like that when we started training again in the UK though. Everyone just, I feel like the withdrawal made people appreciate training more when they couldn't train, and that everywhere, pretty much everyone I've spoken to, obviously now we're kind of very much past it, but even immediately afterwards when people came back to training, people were saying that they were busier now after the pandemic than they were prior to it, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I feel like people were super pumped and like getting high off just seeing people.
Yeah.
You know, like when festivals started to open back up and stuff, people were like, oh,
yeah.
You know, got thousands of people in the same space, and everyone was like, a lot of people were super skeptical, like, oh, I'm not sure it's safe. You know, something bad is going to happen. But of course, everything was fine. Like, no jiu-jitsu team like got extinct or whatever. You know, no one got wiped out.
No.
All the species are still intact.
Yeah.
So, for us, it was like that's the busiest we've ever had it. To be honest, like when we reopened after the lockdown, it was like 70 people actually on the 70 kids on the mat, and then
70 kids on the mat.
It was just me, just me, like trying to organize them all, and I was like stressed out because it's not me just trying to organize their training.
Yeah.
I'm like the one organizing everything that's going on there on that day, you know. So we had like we cooked food for everyone. We had all their parents were also there, not all of them, but let's say like shitloads of adults. We at least another 70 people that were not on the mats. Yeah, you know, so like maybe 150 people at the foundation. Food to share with everyone. We had music there, all this stuff. I was trying to manage what was going on in the foundation, what the kids were doing, all the gis. You know, because a lot of the kids, it was like not actual students. It was just kids coming for the first time with their friends and stuff like that. And there's you've got like shitload of people working in a big gym, right? You've got people working on reception, you've got people like assistant coaches, you've got manager or whatever, you know. And I'm doing like all of that alone. I was completely like over my head, like I don't know what to do, like just try and manage them, just teach. And then
sounds like fun though.
It was hectic. It was crazy.
Where's the stress and the fun?
It was fun, but like after you're just like burnt out, you know, it's fun at the time, but it's madness. It's like yesterday when we competed, because now I'm like with Franck all the time. He's not speaking good English yet, so I'm speaking French with him, speaking English to other guys. So I'm translating for him, but also the problem for me is not switching between two languages. It's like switching between languages and subjects at the same time. Yeah. So when I'm trying to talk to him in French about one thing and then talk in English about another thing, like I can sit and let's say you're bilingual, you talk French and English, we can change language in the conversation. It won't be a problem because it's along the same line. Yeah. So you're along the same thought process. But when it's like you're always trying to talk about someone to something in French and another person on your other side talking to them in English about a different thing. Yeah. It's like splitting your brain in two, like a dolphin mode.
Well, the last time I spoke to you, you didn't speak any French, basically.
Yeah, when I was there, the first few months, it was super difficult. I was like struggling to communicate with her. I was stuck in the house. I was isolated. I basically had I was just spending all my time in the house with the kids that lived in the house, you know, and because I couldn't even go to the shop and ask for stuff. I could, but they didn't really understand me. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I could ask for basic stuff, but it was just a hassle, you know. Like,
and did you learn through like apps, or did you literally just learn through being around people who were speaking it?
A few things. Like, I think like you always learn faster when you learn from like a variety of different sources, right? When you don't, the same with training as well. When you don't just stick to one way of doing things, you learn like, you pick things up much faster.
Yeah, so, like if you watch a little bit of YouTube and then you watch some fight footage and then you're getting instruction and you're also sparring and
the same. Like if you are just listening to your coach and going to the classes, you're going to learn, of course, what he's saying. It's not going to be like the fastest way you can progress, right? Just to go to the classes and learn what you get taught in the class. The same, if you just have the drills that you want to do and you just do that, it's also not going to be the fastest way. You need to have like a bunch of different influences. Yeah,
diversify your input.
Because you can get burnt out with one thing. So you're learning from like many different angles, and then it's going to kind of like be each new angle is going to be a bit refreshing, so you won't feel like you've done too much of it, you know. So it's going to add to your game, but not the same part. Right? So, like for example, with learning French, the most important thing which helped me, which I needed to do to survive there, basically, was like to be able to teach in Jiu-Jitsu in French. So I was writing out like let's say I wanted to teach I don't know, like back control, chokes, whatever, how to control and attack from the back, right? So I'd basically make a lesson plan in English. I'd have to think like, okay, when I'm teaching this, what exactly am I going to say in English? Like if I'm teaching a class, I need to know word for word, like I have to go through it, like write it down on paper what I would say as if like I'm talking to somebody, talking to a class. Like, hey guys, now look, if you want to have good back control, you need to do this, whatever, make sure you're, you know, all this kind of thing. The phrases that you would use when you teach, I wrote everything as if I'm talking to someone. And I put it in Google Translate into French. So I now got the same class in French. Now I try and learn as many, then I go through it with someone, like, and say like, see if they understand all the words, if it makes sense. If they say it makes sense, I'm like, cool, right. So then I try and learn as much as possible of that. Pick up as many words and phrases as possible and try my best to remember them to teach the class in French.
Yeah.
You know, then there's some stuff like I forget, and I'd have to go back and read it again, study again, try and teach the same position again. You know, teach it a few times, the same position. And then I was like, okay, now I'm getting the hang of it. Now I can kind of describe this position. I can tell people what to do in this position. Then I change the position, do the same again. Now we're going to talk about from a closed guard or whatever. You know, and I'd like learn some key phrases, try and teach it, make mistakes, try and teach it again, make less mistakes. You know, but there's also the thing like French in the village or in Cameroon is not the same as like French. So It's still the same language, but there's differences in, firstly, the accent is different, and there's certain word choices and a phrase like choices that are not the same. Like they don't use the same. It's like I don't know, like someone from Devon and someone from Lancashire or something is not going to have the same way of phrasing things, right? And
and it's like Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Same idea,
so the same, you can understand it, but it will be still like a foreigner speaking, right? You still understand that it's not a local person, but I wanted to speak like them. I wanted to speak so that they got used to me, they're comfortable with me being around, they're comfortable with me teaching, they don't see like me as a foreigner, even though I'm like the only white guy in the village. It's pretty difficult to not see me as a foreigner, but
you're trying to assimilate as much.
Yeah, I'm trying to assimilate or like feel
and
like
embrace it.
Feel like part of. If I was planning to live there, you know, I need to feel like I belong there, right? So I can't feel like a foreigner all the time. So I do now. When I'm there, I feel like no different to everyone else. I feel like I have the same kind of not the same kind of mentality. I can't say that, but I know their mentality, I know their customs, I know their habits, the people in that particular village, you know, like in general. I don't know for the whole of Cameroon, but I know how people behave and how people act in that, and the kind of phrases and stuff that they use there. So when I go to a different part of Cameroon to speak, they can tell that I'm from there, you know, because I learned French from there. So if I go to like the airport or whatever in a city, and they'll be like, where the fuck are you from? Like, what? Look at me like a white guy, like speaking like I'm from like a rural region of Cameroon. They're like, what the fuck? Like, where are you from? Are you like some like fucking tribal chief or something?
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck? So it always makes people laugh, like makes Cameroonian people laugh when they hear me talk French. And guys are commenting on stuff that I put online as well. When they hear me talk in the background, you see like Cameroonians posting on my stuff like, "Oh man, your French is so funny!" Like because it's unusual for them to hear like a
white guy,
white guy like talking like a Cameroonian.
Yeah.
You know, because they know that I'm not. They could like I'm clearly not French.
Yeah.
You know, but like, where are you from? Like, because this is a weird accent for like. I probably have like, it's not exact Cameroonian accent, but it's like Cameroonian mixed with British, you know?
Yeah.
There's like no French accent in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was doing like this, writing down lesson plans, then also like speaking with kids in the house. I live with a family that speak only French. So, you know, spending time sitting in the kitchen with them while they're cooking.
It reminds me of, did you see The Last Samurai?
Yeah.
It's like how Tom Cruise learns to speak Japanese, right? With the family.
Yeah.
Pointing at stuff. Asking what that is in French, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much like that. Yeah. But apart from, it was like kids teaching me.
Yeah.
Well. You know, the kids would like come and wake me up in the morning. I couldn't even speak to them. I remember like a couple of examples, like when the kids were trying to talk to me in the beginning. I was like, what the fuck? What are they even saying to me? I couldn't understand it. It was like stressing me out sometimes because they say it over and over and as if I was stupid. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, she was telling me like a girl was telling me about something to do with a window. Put something by the window, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I don't get it. Like, I couldn't like differentiate the words. You know, it was just for me like one long sound, and I was like, had trouble like picking out the words that they were saying. But it just comes with like your ear does come with time. Like now, I'm like much more comfortable, but it took a long time now.
Well, you speak. I'm imagining that you speak almost no English on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, like let's say like 90% French.
Wow.
Because I have two students which are English speakers, but they also speak French.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I speak to them in French as well. And it's only if I call like my mum on WhatsApp or whatever, or somebody back here on WhatsApp, I'll speak English. My sister said that I sound like someone that's trying to learn English.
Yeah, I think that your English accent has changed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I've been back here for like a month now, so it might have got a bit more normal.
Yeah.
I might be able to speak a bit better, but like the first few days when I come back, I was like forgetting English words, you know. I was like,
crazy, isn't it?
I was like, is that an English word or a French word? Like I kept like using words. My mum's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, is that not a word? I'm like, that's a word. Or use it in French. I was like, I don't know. Is it not English or French? You know, you forget like the boundary of because sometimes
I have no idea. I literally only just about speak English and nothing else.
Yeah. For me, it was like I never spoke a second language. Yeah. This is my first second language, if you want. You know, like I wasn't bilingual before or anything like that. A lot of people like grow up with a second language. It's easier to learn a third one. You know?
Yeah,
but
not a lot of people in the UK.
Yeah,
we're pretty well known for being pretty ignorant.
English speakers don't tend to learn like a lot of second language, or they don't care about learning a second language. But for them, for a lot of foreigners, it's like it's normal.
Yeah.
A lot of foreigners can speak English, and in the village, like either they can speak English or they can speak at least their local dialect, right? So they speak French and their local dialect.
Okay.
But I refused to learn the local dialect because I was trying so hard to learn French.
Yeah.
I was like, don't confuse me. I was like, I'm not learning anything from this dialect. I was like, oh, not until I'm like fluent in French, then maybe I'll think about some of this dialect.
So you are fluent in French now?
I wouldn't say like fluent, like.
So you haven't started learning the local dialect yet?
No, I'm fluent in like village French.
Okay.
Let's say, but like if you were going to talk about like if I was going to attend like I don't know, university in French, I would struggle a lot. You know, because I'm not used to the French. I'm not used to like academic French.
Yeah.
I'm used to like day-to-day topics, talking about jiu-jitsu, talking about food, life and whatever, but not about politics, science, whatever. I have no idea.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's super interesting. Another, you know, obviously something that we mentioned in that at the beginning of that first podcast, which has obviously changed since then, is we're talking about the foundation, the Francis Ngannou Foundation, and at the time, he was the number 2 contender.
Yeah,
he wasn't even a champion at the time.
I forgot about that. So
and of course, since that's happened, he won. So he'd already had his title shot, which I believe was against Stipe.
That was before I even.
Yeah, when we spoke on the first episode, he'd had one title shot.
Yeah, when he got taken down by Stipe.
When he got just out wrestled by Stipe. And he was working his way back up for a second title shot. Since then, he got the title and has dominated the heavyweight division since then, and until
Yesterday.
3 days ago.
Yesterday, I think.
Yeah, yesterday or the day before yesterday,
yesterday.
where he vacated the title because contractual disputes with Dana not paying him enough money.
Yeah.
So
a lot happened.
Yeah, there's a lot that's happened there.
So basically, what happened? Like, what can I add to this story? Let's say. So I was after the lockdown. I think he'd fought Jairzinho Rosenstrike in around the lockdown, or it was like the end of some.
Yeah, I would.
This
I'm
was
not gonna know.
No,
yeah.
that was before I spoke to you. That was right before.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe
that was like a couple of days before I left to go to Cameroon. So then he fought. I don't remember, but he fought for the belt. I was there in the village when he fought for the belt against Stipe the second time. So we
did everyone watch it?
Yeah, we watched it at the foundation. We invite the whole village there. So there was like, I'm not sure.
That must have been insane.
Hundreds of people at the foundation. And
how big was the TV?
We had a projector on the wall. Amazing. Yeah, we had a projector on the wall. So it was, it's the same time as here. So it was middle of the night. You know,
is it the same time?
Yeah, it's only if we get British summertime, it's 1 hour out.
Wow.
But apart from that, it's the same time as here because it's the same.
Yeah. Longitude, one of them.
Yeah, whatever. Same.
The horizontal, the vertical one, yeah.
Yeah. So we had we were up all night, like hundreds of people outside the foundation with a projector on the wall.
Wow.
Everyone going crazy when he won the fight. So there's some videos going around where you see like there's only one white guy in the middle of like this big crowd, like going crazy, whatever. But,
that was against Stipe, right? And he knocks him out in the second round, I think.
Yeah, crazy fight. He did a super good performance, you know.
Yeah.
And
what was that like in Cameroon in the village that he was
in the village? It was so crazy watching that fight because if you land like a jab or whatever, people go crazy. Like you land one shot, if Stipe even gets touched, people go crazy. Everyone stand up and start screaming. You know, it's like,
man, that must have been incredible.
And then when Stipe like drop on the floor, it's like you. Like, I mean, the first time when because Francis jabbed him and knocked him down with a jab first, people was like going crazy, like, and then like I was like, it's over, you know. As soon as even before that, as soon as he blocked you could tell
the whole fight.
His takedowns and Stipe couldn't put him on the ground. He was like, oh fuck, he's in trouble.
Gonna win, yeah.
And then I was like, just waiting for the knockout, you know. And then when he got knocked out, it was like crazy. Party till like the next day, basically. We didn't go to sleep.
No,
we were up drinking all night. There's some pictures. We had two French guys, a journalist and a photographer out there with us for like a few weeks at that time. They were
specifically to cover.
Okay. They were coming. They come out. They contacted me and they come out to photograph like the Jiu-Jitsu team at the foundation. Nice. But then there was like the fight at the same time, so they like shot some stuff at that. And we were up drinking all night with them, and we got photos from like 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning. We were standing there with Guinness, like. It was crazy. Oh, the same day, actually. That's good. I just remember something about that day. So it was on a Sunday morning, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning. The Saturday, we had to drive 6 hours to Douala. One of my students had an MMA fight in Douala, and we drove back in the nighttime. So we got back to the village at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we arrived at the foundation when there was already like 500 people there.
Wow.
And they hadn't set up the projector or anything. They were waiting for me to get back. They were like, how do we do this projector? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, you guys said that you were going to sort everything out. Yeah, but we don't know how to do it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's here already. Like, what if we were late? You just not watch the fight. Like, they were just literally waiting for me to get there to sort it all out. Tu t'appelles le jour-là? Comme nous sommes rentrés avec Desmond.
Tu allais assister Desmond à son combat. Vous êtes revenu, on vous attendait pour
connecter le projecteur. Yeah, so... It was crazy. Like I was like, what the fuck? And they were like, we don't even have a cable for the projector. So we had to go. I had to take my motorbike and go down like to the house looking for a cable, like to come back up to the foundation, connect everything. At 2 a.m, they didn't even have the fucking pay for the pay-per-view or anything.
Yeah,
you know, we had to pay for the pay-per-view like in the middle of the night. Like, and then we got it connected eventually. You know, there was a problem with the connection. It was like a bit all up in the air. Like, shit, are we actually going to miss the fight or what? And then it got connected and there was a problem with the stream and it was like showing other fights and they were like, oh, fuck, maybe we've missed it. Maybe we've missed it. And someone was like, we've missed it. And I'm like, no, we haven't fucking missed it, you know?
Yeah, so it's a lost fight, yeah.
Yeah, people were getting like crazy. But in the end, it got on.
Wow, that must have just been one of the most insane experiences.
It was mad. Just because like everyone was so elated there because obviously it's the biggest thing that's like happened for that village, you know, ever, like the most like biggest event that someone from the village has ever been in.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the biggest. It's the UFC heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
It's absolutely massive.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest titles in sport for sure. What was the effect of that in? I'd ask in Cameroon in general, but I guess your expertise would be more specifically in that in Batié.
So yeah, in Cameroon in general, I forgot as well. So I can't remember how long it was after that Francis came back, but I think it was like 2 weeks after that he brought a trip.
Yeah, he brought the belt.
Yeah. So I got the guy who like manages the finances for the foundation, or he manages like administrative stuff like from afar kind of thing. He doesn't live in the village. He called me up and said like, oh, we need you to go to Douala, which is like the second capital city, the economic capital, which is like 6 hours away from the village. He's like, you need MTN, which is like a network like O2 or Orange.
Yeah,
they sponsor Francis, right? So they basically said like they want me and Francis' mum to go to Douala to they're going to give us a hotel room each to stay there as part of the like entourage, which is going to welcome him back or whatever. Yeah. So obviously there's like shitloads of people which are not invited, which are there anyway. Like there's a big party there, like many people were there, famous people like Cameroon footballers and stuff. But the MTN they wanted a gesture like, oh, they're inviting the coach from the foundation, just to show that they're supporting what Francis is doing. So I got like a free hotel room. There's funny stories with this actually, because I nearly got kicked out because I didn't have any money at all to pay for my food.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to pay. I thought the food was included. Yeah, so they said, oh, you come and stay in this hotel to welcome Francis back. It's like a 5-star hotel, 4 or 5-star hotel, whatever. And I was like, at that point, I wasn't earning any money. I was like, hadn't had a shower of running water in months. And I was like, fucking hell, I get to go to a hotel. And it's like the first time I'd ever gone to a hotel in Cameroon. So I went there and I was like, oh my God, if they're paying for the hotel, I was like, I'm going to eat like a king. I was like, went to the bar, looked on the menu. I was like, ordered myself a 3-course meal, got myself some nice whiskey. I had like duck and chips. Like I was so stuffed, man. I ate so much food, and my food bill come to like £150 or something for like 2 days. Yeah, for what I ate. And after like so it's only your room that's included, sir. I'm like, you need to pay for your food bill yourself. I was like, I don't have any money. I was like, I literally do not have any money. I had 1,000 francs, which is the equivalent of like £1.20 in my wallet. I was like, I have one pound. Like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I don't have it. I was like, they invited me here, like as a guest.
It would be right to pay for food as well. Yeah. The foundation, whoever brought you out to the hotel should include the food. Yeah,
the MTN, the mobile network company was like a massive mobile network in Cameroon. They got like billions. I don't know. Yeah, like I was like, you guys didn't check if I have money or not before like telling me that I've got to pay for my own food. You're like, what the fuck? Like I live in a village. I don't earn any money. Like I can't pay for it. And they were like, well, sir, you're gonna have to pay for it because we can't pay for it out of our own pocket or get fired. This is a guy on reception in the hotel. Yeah. He's like, I can't pay for it. Like, I don't get paid enough to pay.
Build a company.
I was like, sorry, sir, you're going to have to speak to your manager because I don't have any money. There's no point in having this conversation because there's nothing that you can take off me. Yeah. Like, I do not have anything to give you. Yeah. Like, this is like a pointless thing. And he was like getting stressed out. He's like, please. He's like, I'll get fired. I'm like, man, call your manager because I cannot pay you. And in the end, they were like on the phone to MTN, whatever. Like, I went and saw Francis and told him, oh, they're trying to get me to pay for this like thing. And he was like laughing, like, oh my God, what the fuck? He gave me like a bit of money to get home with, basically, because I went to see him to welcome him back with the MTN crew and whatever. And I didn't even have money to get back to the village to get a bus back or nothing. Like I said, I had £1. It's not enough for a bus ticket. So Francis is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like coming all the way to the city with no money. He's like, you're crazy. I was like, well, they invite me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, so in the end, it's like turned into like a long running joke that like, I'm just there trying to rip off MTN and, get a load of free food off them and all this stuff. So, but it was funny. In the end, they did pay for it. But they called up and I was stuck on reception for about an hour. They were like, okay, they've said they'll cover it this time. And I was like, well, clearly. Yeah. They're going to have to cover it because it's the only way. Yeah. But yeah, so that was funny. That was a crazy experience actually when Francis actually arrived in the airport. basically we were waiting in like a convoy of cars on the side of the road. It was so hot, man. Everyone was like sweating, waiting for hours for him to arrive. And as soon as he arrived, like, it's a massive convoy of cars, like drove around for like, I can't remember, like 3 or 4 hours through the whole of Douala, doing a tour around the whole of Douala in the boiling hot sun.
Wow.
And there was like thousands of people there, like I don't know, like 50 cars driving around a convoy, and all the people were like following the cars in the street. You probably saw some photos and stuff when he was like standing on top of the car holding the belt.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was in like a car, maybe like, I don't know, 5 cars behind him or something like that.
That must have been an incredible atmosphere.
It was crazy, but I was so exhausted, man.
Really?
I don't know how it would have been for him worse. You know, he had to hold the belt up for like 4 hours or whatever. Like,
was he holding it up the whole time?
He was holding the belt up like in a shirt, like sweating his ass off, holding the belt up. So it must have been so tiring. Because I said to him, I remember the same day, I was like, man, it's so tiring. He's like, how do you think I feel holding the fucking belt up for like this whole time like this? He's like, I'm you know, so burnt out because we had to go to the governor's office. He had to do like a speech.
A lot of press, yeah.
Yeah, like for all the Cameroon politicians and stuff like this, you know. It was crazy. It was a crazy experience, like looking back on it. Even at the time, it was crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is so weird. But yeah, and then, so how did it change for things in the village? It was like, then we welcomed him to the village again, like, I don't know, a week later or something like that, because he stayed for a week, like, in other cities or whatever, doing the same thing in a few other cities. I went back to the village, and then we organised something else at the foundation with MTN again, hosted like a welcome home ceremony. It wasn't really a party, but like a ceremony. They had speeches and stuff. Francis gave me the mic and made me speak French in front of like hundreds of people, and at this point I couldn't even speak French, and I was like, cheers. Like, thanks for that. Like, super not comfortable speaking in front of everyone in French, you know. But I made loads of mistakes. I talked like complete bullshit in French. Probably no better than English, to be honest. But, yeah, it was crazy experience. Like, at that time, with so much, there was so much media attention. Like, people were coming to the foundation, interviewing the kids, you know, wanting to take pictures all the time, doing, like, trying to cover what was going on. There was a lot of like attention on the foundation at that time. But then slowly it died off, you know, after, you know, when people get used to it, okay, he's champion, whatever. We did the same thing again for the Cyril Gane fight when he defended the belt. Yeah. And for that fight, the connection, the TV, the MTN connection, MTN who was sponsoring the whole event and, you know, had their banners around everywhere. They were like, we're the ones supporting the champion, Francis Ngannou, whatever. He's got big banners all around the country with his face on it, with MTN and stuff like this. And they're like a mobile network company, and the mobile network cut out in the middle of the fight. So the company which is sponsoring him cannot even provide a stable connection to watch his title defense. So in the village, we had hundreds of people there watching the fight. We missed the 5th round.
No,
the 5th round. We only figured the TV cut off. It was like buffering or whatever, like no connection. And someone, like, I don't know, sitting back like in the crowd of people was like, "Oh, he won the decision!" Like, he's watching on his phone. Yeah. And then everyone just started cheering. We didn't even see the last round. We didn't see the end of the fight. Yeah. So everyone was a bit of like anticlimax because we thought he was going to win the fight, but then it was like, yeah, he won. And like, hey. You know, no one saw it. So it was like,
well, it reminds me of I had a similar thing happen for the Adesanya Pereira fight. I was watching it on the way back from Nogi Euros on my phone in the airport at like 5 a.m. or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm the last person to get on the plane. And as I get on the plane, it's the start of the 5th round and it cuts out. And of course, Adesanya's been like he's been beating him for 4 rounds. So I go, okay, well, I know that Adesanya's won this decision.
You get back and you look online.
It's I go back and I go, what the hell has happened?
How did you win?
Yeah, and he knocked him out in the 5th round. So at least that didn't happen in that in that particular fight.
Yeah, but that just happened a bunch of times, like in Cameroon, because you have unstable electricity, right? So you get power cuts all the time. Sure. So sometimes I'll pay the TV channel, so we have, which is like I don't know, like £20 a month, and then you have like the channel which is showing UFC. So. Is UFC on? Yeah, it's on
a national
TV channel. Wow. Yeah, but you've got to pay. It's like a cable TV, like Canal Plus. So you pay the Canal Plus, and then you have the channel which is like, Canal Sport. Yeah, so you have like Canal Sport channel or whatever, which shows UFC fights. So we pay the channel, we set the alarm to get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, watch UFC, and then power cut. Power cut. No electricity. I'm like, cool. Oh, it happened a bunch of times in the middle of the card. Like, the power cuts out at like 4 a.m, like in the 4th round or something.
Because you said there's like a power cut like once a day.
It can be. Sometimes it's like off for a few days.
Really?
Like over Christmas. I think me and Frank just flew back on the 20th of December. And they had a power cut for like 4 days, like right up until Christmas Eve on the night time. Because they we're like, how's it going? Frank's like showing them all the pictures from like arriving in UK, like check out this place. And no one was answering on the phones because all the phones were like out of battery. There was no charge. Like there's no way to charge them.
Yeah. So
then a power come back on, they charge it a bit, they call us on like Christmas Eve, like we had no power for like 3 days. We're like, oh, unlucky guys, like we're back in the UK now,
making them jealous.
Yeah, but it's pretty often. Sometimes it won't cut out for like a couple of weeks, but it's pretty rare. Like if it keeps going for a few weeks, it's like, oh, what's going on? Yeah.
And talking about the infrastructure of the village you're in, is it something that improvements are being made over time? Like, has there been any measurable? You've been there 3.5 years now, and yeah, it's kind of a weird time because there's like a year of a pandemic or a year and a half, 2 years of pandemic between that. But is it something that is kind of progressing in terms of in 5 years' time you're not going to have any power cuts or something like that, or no?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, let me ask Franck. T'as compris ou non? Il dit que comme au village, pendant que je suis là les dernières années là, est-ce que les choses ont changé jusqu'à maintenant? Il n'y a plus trop les problèmes, ou les problèmes sont moins souvent. Les problèmes arrivent moins souvent, comme on coupe moins souvent le courant ou quoi. C'est la même chose, non?
You don't need to speak French to understand what he said.
It's the same thing. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Même comme la route. Like the road is like destroyed. There's like potholes everywhere. Nothing changed. It's just getting worse.
Wow.
It gets worse, not better.
Really?
Like, yeah, could they repair it sometimes? Like do it like a shitty repair job?
And that's to do with the government, the Cameroonian government.
I guess so.
Because I guess that they would be the ones who would be in charge of building infrastructure and bringing that a kind of increasing that infrastructure cost to smaller villages.
Yeah, so like the roads is the government responsible for the roads, and they're getting like worse and worse with time. They get destroyed by the rains, like rainy seasons, like monsoon rains kind of thing, and it just like breaks away the tarmac and stuff like this. You get massive potholes forming in the road. They get bigger and bigger like each day, and they don't get fixed. Like sometimes the villagers will come and fill them up with mud, and then it like pisses down with rain on it, and it's just like slush.
Yeah.
So you're going through like instead of
knowing that there's
just
a hole there,
it's just like a slush of mud, and then you go into a hole anyway. So you get filthy and stuck in a hole. So it's not really like I drop the kids to school because I'm driving a car over there at the moment, but like for the last 3 years I've been driving a bike. But at the moment we've got a car. So I started dropping the kids in school in the rainy season because it was like, so they don't get wet on the way to school. But Frank's like, oh, take the other road to go to school today. Like, I'm like, there's like too many potholes in that way. I'm going to go this way. He's like, no, they've arranged all the other road now. It's like, it's been arranged. I was like, arranged there? Okay, we'll see what you mean by arranged. Let's go that way then. I go there, it's just mud in the holes. I'm like, this is not arranged. What are you talking about? Like, how is this like fixed? He's like, yeah, they sent someone to fix it. I'm like, they've just put mud in the hole. I was like, they just get filthy. The car's like covered in mud. So this is not fixed. C'est toi qui as dit, non? Tu as dit, mais attends qu'on a arrangé la route là. Tu as dit que c'est quel genre d'arrangé? What kind of standard they're arranging stuff to? I don't know, but
yeah,
I was like, this does not class in my books as a fixed road. Like,
fair enough.
So yeah, nothing's getting better road wise, or nothing's really changing, to be honest. Quelque chose n'a même changé. No, nothing changed.
Wow,
it's like the same. You couldn't, especially in the village, nothing's changed. But maybe in the cities, they're like in Bafsan, which is a city 30 minutes away. They spent like the last 2 years building a road for it. So now there's a tarmac road there. But in our village, no, nothing.
Wow.
So yeah, things changing in the foundation in terms of jiu-jitsu. Let's go on to a bit of jiu-jitsu stuff.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Absolutely. Yeah, we should have got. We were going to get them there at some point. So, how is the foundation doing? You've been there. Last time I spoke to you, you've been there 5 or 6 months. Now you've been there. I mean, minus the 8 months. Almost 3 years at the foundation. How's it going?
So depends on what kind of aspect you want, like in what angle you want to look at it. But let's say first of all, from the kids' progression, like from a technical level, they're doing amazing now. There's such a big difference. In the beginning, it was like moving like slow motion, right? Because I started teaching them without knowing French, right? So I couldn't communicate. So it was like limited ability to
teach,
communicate, basically. Which you can manage within jiu-jitsu. So it's not the end of the world. You can manage, but it's going to slow things down a little bit. And also, they never knew what jiu-jitsu was, right? Yeah. So it's not like they waiting to learn jiu-jitsu, waiting for a coach to show up. When I showed up, they're like, "What is it you teach? Like, what is this?" Like, never seen this before. And jiu-jitsu is a weird thing to watch, right? Like, I still get people like some of the kids' parents and stuff like, "I don't understand this. What you're doing? You're just rolling around, going over your shoulders and stuff, like going upside down." Like, I don't get it. I don't get who's winning, who's doing what. Like, I have no idea what's happening. So imagine, that was how everyone was thinking in the beginning. No one ever saw jiu-jitsu before, and I'd show up on my own trying to show them what jiu-jitsu is. So I take a white belt or like a brand new guy that's never stepped on the mat before and try and show jiu-jitsu techniques on them, and they have like zero reaction. Like, nobody has any reaction for it, or any reasonable reaction. So it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, you have to simplify things down to such a basic level because there's no example for them to follow, right? So it was a really slow start. They only can see how something should work from me, but then the reaction is all wrong, so it's really easy to do techniques on them anyway. So it took a lot of time before they start building up that like self-awareness of like positions and stuff to start defending stuff, and then the guy has to actually improve their technique so they all work, right? Because in the beginning, everything works. In the beginning, they just headlock everyone. Because nobody knows how to get out of a headlock.
So everything works,
They're like, and it's so hard to get them to stop doing bad habits, bad technique that
when it's working.
Because it works on everybody. Everything works. Like, whatever they want to do, it works. So they're like, yeah, but this works on everyone. I'm like, yeah, but nobody knows jiu-jitsu here. So I was like, do you get me in a headlock? No. So stop doing it. Like, they're like, yeah, but it works on everyone else. I'm like, guys, you don't understand. Like, they don't know what they're doing. Of course it's going to work on them. Like,
it's actually like, I've taught jiu-jitsu for 16 years now. But the idea of teaching jiu-jitsu with a room of 30 people who have never ever seen jiu-jitsu before is such an interesting concept. Because whenever you have, you may have an influx of white belts, but you're going to have the blue belts and the more experienced white belts and the purples and the browns and the blacks the whole time. It all makes it's such an interesting thing that you're doing from a purely teaching perspective, where you're trying to teach a group of people who all have, every single one of them, with the exception of you, nobody has any experience.
It's like a science experiment, basically. Like, it's completely like an experiment.
And at any time were you doing this thinking, is it even possible to teach jiu-jitsu like this?
I was thinking, like, I don't think this is going to work. Like, even like, let's say 4 months in, I was like, I don't think this is going to, because they're not like, it's not just the technical side of things. It's like, they don't have that like, awareness of professional sports, like what it is to train as a professional in sport or to be an athlete or anything like this. They're just like so used to this village lifestyle that when you're trying to get them to train and concentrate and, learn techniques and be serious, inspiring, they don't see like why they're doing this.
It doesn't relate to them.
It's just like, I don't get it. Like, why? What's the point in this? You know, like. But I'm like, no, you can do this. This is like a sport. You can compete in this. You can teach this. You can, it can be a career. You can be a coach, an athlete, whatever. Or you can use it for MMA. Also, but for them, there's like such a foreign thing that they just don't see the use of it in real life. Like, why do I want to learn how to do that?
Will most kids in a village such as the one that you're in never leave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Most of them, they're going to grow up their entire life in that
I would
village.
say like most of them will never leave Cameroon. Most. There'll obviously be some guys that will leave, but like a huge portion of them will not leave Cameroon. And many of them will stay in a village also. You know? A lot of the times they move to the city or whatever. They've got other family in the city, so they'll go and stay with them. Maybe they'll move away to Yaoundé or to Douala, and then usually it's one of those two places. They'll go stay with other family members. But sometimes, the families don't have money, so they'll send other kids back to the village, you know, to stay with grandparents, to stay with aunt or uncle or whatever, you know. So, like, for example, with Franck, he's never left Cameroon before. This is his first time getting on a plane, first time going outside the country, first time seeing somewhere else apart from Cameroon, you know.
Well, let's talk about Franck, because we got Franck here with us.
Yeah, we'll go back onto, because we skipped over it completely, you know, I skipped over it, like talking about like how Jiu-Jitsu is going in the foundation, but we can go back to that.
Yeah, let's go back to that. I'll remember that. Don't worry. Let's talk about Franck a little bit because he's sitting here with us. I've followed him from sitting very, very well. He's one of the kids from the foundation. Is he one of the more serious grapplers out there?
Yeah. So basically, because we don't have like, let's say like financial support for the Jiu-Jitsu program. We don't have anyone funding the Jiu-Jitsu program. Apart from Scramble, are doing their best to help us, even though they're a small company. So they proposed to me, like, I suggested to them, like, would they be up for, you know, bringing like one of my guys over to compete or something like this? And they said, like, yeah, we'd love to. Maybe we can start with like one guy.
Yeah.
You know, like we can try and bring one guy over first. Like, so for me, that was an obvious choice. It had to be Franck, the first person, because he's basically the only one of my students which is like over the last 3 years was basically there every single day.
Yeah.
You know, especially like in the last year, I think he missed about 3 or 4 days in a year. But before that, I don't think he missed any days.
Wow.
So, you know, he started with me when he was 14, or he just turned 14. So he turned 14 in July 2019, and he started like a couple of days after. So, and he's been with me every day since then, like 7 days a week, basically, for the last 3.5 years, apart from obviously when I was in the lockdown.
Yeah.
But then we were on the phone all the time, like, when they had a phone connection, they'd be calling me, or I'd call them back.
Yeah.
So apart from that time, we every day together like this. So when Scrambled offered to pay for one guy to come over, I was like, okay, well, I can't choose anyone. That there's no one that should be in front of him, because it's not that the other ones don't deserve to come. Of course they do.
He's just top of the queue.
Yeah, but how can you say they deserve more than him? Because he's the only one that was training that regularly. You know, you can't have someone that's training 7 days a week and then you say like, okay, I'll take the one that's 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Then how is that going to encourage anyone?
Yeah.
You've got to show, like, lead by example. This is what dedication. You know, dedication is going to get you places. Basically, you know, you get like reward for hard work.
Yeah.
Right. So over the years, and he's also for sure one of the most talented. There's other guys which are like close to his level, but I think it's because of the amount of work he's put in, because he's been the most consistent, that he's like a little bit ahead. Of course, like when he started as a 14-year-old, he was not that big, he was skinny. And now he's like 17 and a half, he'll be 18 this July. So he's growing into his man body.
He doesn't seem so skinny anymore. I shook his hand when we came in. He's got some big, strong hands on him already.
I'm like 6'2".
Yeah.
And I'm like middleweight. I walk around like 78 kilos normally. And he's like a couple of kilos lighter than me now, like 2-3 kilos lighter than me, depending on what he eats. So he just fought in a 76 kilo absolute yesterday.
I mean, both of you guys competed yesterday and absolutely killed it. You both won the absolute divisions. Yeah,
this is
pretty awesome.
Frank's first time ever attending a competition, ever seeing a competition, you know. So it's not just first time competing, but first time even seeing a jiu-jitsu
seeing what a competition is.
Yeah, so I was like showing him like these guys that call you for these are ring, like mat coordinated people. You need to come here, they'll call you over. Like, and he's like, do we need to go there? Like, just chill, like I'll tell you if you need to go somewhere, you know, this is how it works. And he's like freaking out, making me freak out. I'm like, calm down, like I know what to do, just like, I'll tell you if you need to do something. Stop asking me questions all the time, just like trust me, I'll tell you if you need to go somewhere. So yeah, we.
Can I ask Frank? You know, what was your? How was your first competition? What was it like? What was the experience like?
You can tell me in French, Ryan. I'll translate.
Yeah.
T'as compris la question.
Let me move this camera just slightly so it's facing you. I've got a little bit more.
Je vais te laisser parler après.
Comment s'est passée ma première compétition?
Tu veux comment?
Je vais expliquer. Ma première compétition, vraiment, c'était stressant pour moi parce que je suis le premier qui voyage de la fondation de l'équipe pour venir montrer ce qu'on fait depuis 3 ans. Il devait vraiment montrer que on a un meilleur coach et on s'entraîne dur. Il devait montrer que nous sommes les meilleurs et on va être les champions. Tu peux traduire là-bas, c'est fini.
Oh, merci, bro. He's giving me like, he said you can translate first that part, like, and then I'll carry on. It's very kind, so I don't have to remember everything he said. So basically, he's saying like it's quite stressful because he knows that he's the first one from our team to travel abroad. He's representing all his teammates, you know, because we don't have the possibility we don't have the luxury of being able to send people to compete whenever or wherever we want. He's the only one that's had the chance to do that up until now, and he knows that like he has a responsibility to perform basically if he wants future opportunities to be there for his teammates, you know, because if him or me, like if we come here like this and we don't do a good job, it's like no one's going to pay attention to what we're doing, you know, and it's going to be really hard to get support for the program, support for the other kids, and no one's going to pay. Like if you just come and we could both go out first round like this, it's going to be hard to say, oh guys, I bought my best student, we both lost, can we now bring another guy over? They'll be like, you know, they'll be like, didn't your best student just get annihilated? You know, like what else? What do you want us to pay for that for? You know, so he knows that like the other kids are counting on him to perform. Basically,
that's an incredible amount of pressure. You know, for your first tournament as well. Whenever someone was asking me recently, they said that they were doing their first tournament, and I said my number one piece of advice for first tournament is, it doesn't matter. There's no pressure at all. And this is the reality with almost everyone ever, is the first tournament you do, it doesn't matter. There's no pressure. You just go and have fun. But in your scenario, it's this unique different scenario where you are a blue belt competing in your first ever competition, but there is this pressure because you are representing this unique entity in the foundation where you're right. You know, it's not that the foundation are going to lose if you lose. It's that if you win, you have the ability to generate so much more awareness and positivity for the cause.
Yeah, and if we did lose like that, then it would be like so difficult to get people on board. You know,
exactly,
it would be a hard sell. Yeah. Like, oh guys, look what amazing work we're doing. Like Frank was saying, like I didn't translate everything he said. He was like, basically, we need to show what we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. You know, we've been working for so many years, like on this, basically like undercover, let's say, like because we've not been able to show like our skills on. He's like, you want to show like that I have like that I'm a good coach, that I can coach like guys to a high level, that you know that our team can become something good. You know, that we're like serious, basically, that we're not there just fucking around in the village like doing jiu-jitsu for fun, that we're developing like high level guys. That it's not like, oh, we've got a team, which is like, it is a social project, but it's not like we're just doing jiu-jitsu for fun so that kids can have something to do. Yes, that's like an aspect of it, but I'm also coaching them to be like very high level. And like, he knows that. I know that he's high level. I know that he's like a very good level blue belt, very good. You know, because I'm not the best in the world, but I'm like, I know that I'm also like a decent level black belt. Yeah. You know, I've competed a lot, like every belt level. I know where I'm at in terms of like the overall level. Like I'm not the best at the black belt in the world, but I'm far from the worst, you know. I've got like a decent level, and I know that when the guys can hang with me and that they can like put a lot of pressure on my guard as a blue belt who's never competed, that we can go a long way, you know. And when they have like, I can have hard scraps with them, it's like, oh, okay, they're ready. If they can push me in training now, they're ready to start competing. So I'm believing them for a long time, and we've been pushing for like the opportunity to bring them somewhere to compete, you know, whether it's in UK or wherever, US, anywhere in Europe, even in other African countries like Angola where they have a jiu-jitsu scene.
Yeah.
So I knew for a long time that they were going to do well, but in my mind it was just like, okay, if we're forced to wait a little bit, this is only going to be a good thing because their level is going to go up while, you know, they're only going to get better. As long as they don't get discouraged and they keep training, they're only going to get better. If we don't have the chance to compete, they're going to keep getting better. By the time they get their first competition, you know, they're going to have a better chance at winning.
Yeah.
But it's like, they do need to, they can't train for ages and go up all the belt ranks and have never competed.
Yeah.
You know, I can't be like promoting them to purple belt, brown belt, whatever.
I mean,
and they've never done a competition.
You're in this unique situation. Yes, we would say that normally in the UK that you expect someone to compete at least once in every belt, but you're in a scenario where they literally can't do that.
Yeah, but then it's also like, if I ever want them to have a career in jiu-jitsu, then I need to like try to get them that opportunity. So that's why I don't want to keep them like blue belts for life, you know, like sandbag them until, it's not even sandbagging them. If they're not competing, it's not sandbagging, right?
Yeah.
It's just not progressing, basically. Yep. But yeah, so it's a tricky situation because I want them to feel like they're progressing, but I also don't want them to like promote them and then one day they do get a chance to compete
and it's the first time ever a brown belt.
They're brown belt and they're fighting guys that have fought like 100 competitions and they've never even seen a competition before. They get annihilated. But just from experience, even if they're technically good, the guys will have so much experience on them. So I was like, they need, even the kids that are grey belt, I was like, it would be so much better for them if they can compete at that level, fight kids that have had a few fights, rather than go to like orange belt where they fight kids that have done like shitloads of competitions.
Do you run any like interclubs or anything?
No, not yet. We want to organize,
or even
something.
like a mock comp or something to like give them the idea of what a competition setting.
We always do this in the foundation between them. So I always do like matches with we'll like tape out like a square on the mat.
That's
like a big square.
Yeah.
Get all the other kids to sit around. Sometimes invite parents and like cook some food. So there's people watching, and I teach all the kids like how to referee. They know the rules. They can all like score a fight like pretty good. So I try to make them like understand the sport, not just like how to roll. You know, they need to have their competitive mindset. They need to know if they want to be in jiu-jitsu, like even if they want to go to MMA after, it's still good to be able to follow the rules of a sport and kind of like, it's a good mental exercise for them.
Yeah.
You know, like I have to be smart as well, not just like use brute force and win. You have to use tactics and strategy as well. You know, if you find the guy is like hard for you to beat, then okay, he's close to my level. I need to find another way to beat him, right? I can't just like ragdoll him around. So I have to find another way, you know. And then if you don't know the rules, it's really hard to find that way.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, well, what do I do if I can't like take his back and choke him? If I can't choke the guy, then how am I going to beat him then? You won't know how to beat him unless you know the rules. You know, so you've either got to completely dominate someone or you've got to know the rules to win.
Yeah, or it's never a bad thing to know more about the sport that you're doing in terms of the rules.
So I do this, like I teach the kids from like a young age. Even a 10-year-olds can like referee like to a reasonable level.
Yeah.
You know? But we were talking about pressure for him.
Yeah.
So it's not just like pressure for the foundation for the other kids in the foundation, that like to get them future opportunities, but it's also like from his family, you know, like he's basically like the hope for the family, you know, like he doesn't have parents, but his aunt who he lived with his whole life, and his cousins who he lived with, they basically like have like put all their eggs in one basket, and they're all hoping on him to change their life and, you know, go out and like one day like make money that he can like help his aunt, you know, so that she doesn't have to sell food on the street anymore, you know, because his aunt basically like cooks rat meat and sells rat meat on the street.
Wow.
And that's how she feeds him and his cousins. So it's like he feel all the pressure from this, like he doesn't want to let them down. Like he knows they have such a difficult life, difficult situation, that if he fucks up here, it's like such a shame for them, But
so you didn't.
You can only do your best, So, but you can't help but feel that pressure. I know.
Yeah.
Because even me, I know I felt the pressure also yesterday because now I'm not just competing for myself, right? I'm competing as like a representative of
the figurehead of the foundation.
What we're doing, me and my students, basically.
Yeah.
If me and him can't win anything, then how am I going to get any support?
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, this is like a nice, lovely project that you're doing, but.
And this is the first time like you said, you have competed a lot. Is this the first time you've competed as?
No, this is the third time I've competed since coaching at the foundation. So I competed. I moved to Cameroon in 2019. I competed in 2021 at the British Open, I think, and I lost in the final against a guy that I beat like 3 times before, like convincingly, because I was so stressed, and I felt this is my first time competing. I felt so much pressure,
really,
because I was like, and all my students were like, "Of course you're going to win.
Yeah,
of course you're going to win."
Well, because
they've never seen anyone else apart from me that does jiu-jitsu.
You're like a jiu-jitsu god to them, right? Like you can
beat
beat everyone easily.
I was like, yeah, okay, I have to win. Fucking no, they count on me so much. So, and when I lost the final against because I was, not, you're not fighting my best, like tense and afraid to open up kind of thing.
Yeah.
You get like that when you're too stressed. So I was so like dreading calling them after that fight. I was like, fuck, I so wanted to tell them that I won. I called them up and I was like, I lost in the final. They're like, why? Why did you lose? I'm like, what do you mean why? I'm like, well, what are you doing? Why are you fucking around? Like, you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
Like, why did you let the guy beat you? I'm like, it's not, the guy's like, it's not that simple. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, come here and do it yourself then.
Yeah.
So like, and then I did, what was it? What year are we now? 2023. So 2022, I did the London Open in July. So there's like one competition in 2021, one competition in 2022, London Open. Again, I think, I lost my final and won the absolute, I think. Nice. Yeah. No, I lost the semi-final and then I won the absolute.
Wow.
So that was at least cool. I was like, thank fuck, I got a gold medal to, like, just so I can show the kids, like, okay, just to motivate them, like, okay, look, because I'm training with them for a few years, and I want to show them that, like, with our situation where we're training, we can still get results, we can still do stuff. Like, my level is not like, I can still maintain a good level, even training with kids that are like white and blue belts, enough to go like 5 black belt tournaments. So if I can do that, then they'll be fine with other white and blue belts. You know?
And then yesterday
was my third competition since I've been teaching, and the first time ever to bring one of my students to compete. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so me and Frank both had 2 fights in our division. Frank was fighting super good in his division. He won the semis like 10-0. And then in the final, he had a tough guy. And it was a close fight, like back and forward. But he was doing, again, super good job, like impressing me, because I knew the guy was a tough guy. I saw his semi-final, and I was like, okay, shit, this is going to be like a test for him. He did super good, but then made a mistake, like tried to do like a rolling back take, like a jumping back take, like the Leo Vieira front flip back take.
Yeah.
Went for like a flashy thing and then like slid off the back, and I was like, oh fuck. And then basically he got his guard back, swept the guy again, but as he was coming back on top, like put himself in a triangle. Basically, he got too eager to like quickly sweep the guy, and he got triangled in like towards the end of the final. So I was like, but for me, like I was not disappointed. Of course, I like disappointed. Like it would be nice for him to win, to feel like he win.
Yeah.
But I was still pleased with his performance, because he fought very well, much better than I thought that he would do. Because I thought he would.
Yeah, first competition.
I thought the pressure would make him close down a bit, But he was very like trying loads of different technique, very like good display of jiu-jitsu, which is what I was telling him before the competition. I was like, look, it's not if you win or lose which matters. It's like, what I want is just you to show your level of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Wherever you you can always make a mistake and lose the fight. But if you make a mistake and you didn't do anything the whole match, no one see anything. No one's going to be impressed with, you can fight like crazy good, and then you get caught, but everyone knows you're good.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what's most important for me. I want to see like that he shows his level, the level that I know he has, right? And he did that. Like, so I was like, okay, man, you did super good. I was like, don't worry about this, like losing the final. You got the absolute still. Like, let's try again, like, and try and smash guys. So he had 4 fights in his absolute. He destroyed the absolute, destroyed everyone. Like, the first fight was 12-0. Second fight was 33-0. Okay, sorry. First fight, 12-0, and then he submit the guy with Americana, I think. Second fight was 33-0.
33-0.
Yeah, so this is third fight. He fought like a really tough guy.
Yeah.
A really, really tough guy who everyone thought was going to win the division. And it was a very close fight, and it was a bit of a dodgy start to the match because the other guy tried to pull guard and Frank caught his legs as he was pulling. So I thought it should have been 2 points, but he didn't get the 2 points, so he was 0-0. The other guy then swept him, so it was 2-0, right? So then Frank's down 2 points, and with like 15 seconds left in the match, or 10 seconds left in the match, I was like, you're gonna fucking lose this tournament if you do not like score on this guy now, because Frank had an advantage on him, so it was 2-0 and one advantage for him. I was like, if you fucking take him down, you win this match. Simple. And he was pushing him. He was like charging him for like single leg, double leg, and like going out of bounds. I was like, fuck. I was like, you do not have time to go out of bounds right now. I was like, because I was telling him before, like, okay, pushing, like charging in, putting pressure on the guy, even if he goes out of bounds, he's good. Like in the beginning of the match, because you'll make them feel like stressed and under pressure, right? They keep getting like you're coming forward too much. Yeah. I was like, but at the end of the match, when you have 15 seconds left, that's not a good strategy. You're like, now you need to take the guy down and do not let him go out of bounds. Like, because every time you go out, the clock's ticking down. Now you've got 6 seconds left. Now you've got 3 seconds. Now there's nothing to work with. I was like, you've only got 10 seconds now. I was like, do not push the guy out of bounds. Take him down right in the middle of the mat. And he took him down, like 10 seconds. How the guy was like, no! Like, he cried out, like, because he was winning the match. He thought he was just waiting for the
Did he shout out no?
Yeah. The clock's like ticking down. He thinks he's gonna he's got the victory in the bag, and then Frank took him down. Like when Neon Belly with like a couple seconds left, got his 2 points, won the semi-final.
Amazing.
And we knew that was the toughest guy in the division. So I was like, thank fuck for that. Like, okay, I don't think the final is going to be as hard as this one. Just hopefully he was not too burnt out, because he was exhausted after that fight. He like went 100% to finish the fight, which is like, I was super proud of his performance basically, because it wasn't easy. It was a tough fight, and he like showed like a lot of heart to win that match, you know. And then he had his final. It was like 9-0 choke in the final, like easy final. So the semi-final was like tough. But every other match he destroyed.
That's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. So then I was like, when he won, like he always wanted to like win a belt, right? Yeah. He's like, oh, one day I want to win a belt. So in yesterday for the absolute, they were giving away belts, right? Like they were awarding belts. Yeah. And prize money. So he won like a check, £200 check, and a big shiny belt. So I was like super pleased. I was super relieved. I didn't care that anymore. Like if I win or lose, I was like,
but that's it.
Now,
like
our work is done. Like like Frank has already shown basically what we've been doing. Like for me, I'm a coach now, right? I'm not like trying to become world champion now. I'm trying to help them become world champion. You know, if I still like to compete, and I don't like losing, so you know, I prefer to win my fights. You know, of course, but it's not my focus. Is to be like, for me to win. I'm not going to be. If he can win, fine. I'm good. I was so happy. Then I was like, okay, I had my absolute after his. I was so pumped that he like smashed everyone in his division that I didn't feel any stress going into my absolute, you know. I was like, performed completely differently in my absolute to my weight division, because in the weight division, I was going right after his loss, and I was like, shit, I need to win. Yeah. But in my absolute, he'd already won. So I was like, cool, I'm happy already, whatever. So I was like, I didn't get a point scored in me in the absolute. You know, I was like performing super good. First guy, I took the back standing up. I was chatting to Frank and another friend. He was like, Frank keep telling me to footlock everyone. He was like, go for his foot. I'm like, no, I'm not going for his foot. Stop telling me to footlock everyone. I will lose the fight if I go for his foot. Like, I was like, there was one fight where it was like in the semi-final of my division. I was like, what was it? Like, I think it was 0-0. I was up an advantage and down a penalty, right? So I was like narrowly winning the fight. Yeah. just like edging the fight. And Frank's like, go for his foot. I'm like, if he comes on top and I don't still have his foot, he's got 2 points.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, the fight is too much of a hard fight to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you can do that if you have like if you've got a super dangerous footlock, for one, that you know that the guy's gonna tap fast. For me, I'm not like, I wasn't that situation in that fight where I felt like, okay, the guy was vulnerable for that situation. He was, a tough guy. It would be a difficult guy for me to finish a footlock on without risking losing the fight, I was like, no, I'm not going to fucking attack his foot. Like, I did in the end, but I was like super afraid like to give away the points. I kept coming back up. So I was like half going for his foot, But then in this first fight, my absolute as well, he's like, go for his foot. I'm like, no. I'm not going to go for his foot. Like, because the guy had me 50-50 before I took his back. Anyway, so I finished that fight on the back. I didn't submit the first guy, but I was trying. Because I got so tired in my division because of the stress. I was like, I need to be smart. I was like, I'm on the guy's back for the whole fight, whatever. I'm going for the sub, but he was defending a heavier guy. I was the lightest guy in my division, right? So it was over 76 absolute, and I'm like 78 kilos.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to burn myself out trying to do like a standing bow and arrow on this guy. Like, no, I'll just look for his collar and ride out the win kind of on the back. Then we go to the semi-final. Frank's like, go for the foot. I'm like, no, I'm not going for his foot. The semi-final against a real super heavyweight or ultra heavyweight guy. I think like more than 100 kilo. He tried to break my foot off with a toe hold. I managed to like get a good angle so that he didn't break, basically, and then got out, took his back. I got crucifix, took his back, and then bow and arrow.
Nice.
And then went through the final and dashed the guy in like a minute or something like that. So I was like, normally if I win and I'm on my own, I'm pleased, but not like pumped. I'm like, cool, got a win, good. I was so pumped just because Frank was watching my fight. He was sitting there with his coach's pass. Yeah. Like, he was coaching me with his blue belt on. Like, go for his foot. I'm like, no, you're like not helping me here. But still, like, when I won and he was sitting on the side of the mat watching, it was like so proud for me. Wow. Like, because I know he'd already won and I win a second belt. It's like such a good, moment for us as like a team.
Amazing.
Like, because after 3.5 years of nothing, like no opportunities that we've had since starting teaching there. It's not World Championships, but for us, it's like the same thing. Like, it's the only opportunity we've had to compete ever. So to use our first opportunity, and then we both come away with like belts and prize money, checks, or whatever. It's such a good inspiration for the other kids in the team. They see like their teammate and their coach both like smash the competition, and it's also good for us like to let other people know, like I said, like that we're not messing around there. That we're like trying to develop high level athletes. We're not just teaching them, jiu-jitsu for fun. Let's say they can really like achieve something in this sport. So it was a good day.
Frank, tell me, how was it when you called everyone and you told them that you got the belt, you got the money? How was it?
C'était vraiment bien d'appeler les gens parce que toute la journée j'étais stressé. Quand j'étais dans la demi-finale et que le gars là me gagnait 2-0, je regarde le tableau, je vois il restait 15 secondes. Il dit dans ma tête, fuck, j'ai perdu le combat ici. Et j'entends ta voix derrière, tu dis, si tu ne le renverses pas maintenant, tu as perdu le combat. Tu le renverses, tu gagnes avec tes 2 avantages. Je regarde et quand l'arbitre dit combattre, je regarde, je peux entrer en bas, directement j'entre et mon double leg, ça marche. Je mets le genou poitrine.
Okay, so he didn't even get to answering the question yet, but he said a lot of stuff. So he said basically like he was super like pumped to call everyone in the evening because in the daytime it was very stressful, right? Especially in the semi-final, he was like losing the match by 2 points. Yeah. And he looked at the clock, he had like 15 seconds left and he saw he was down. Well, I was shouting to him like, you're down 2 points, whatever you need to. He said he heard me shouting like, if you don't take this guy down, you are out of this tournament. Like, you lost. Yeah. I was like, if you take him down, you're up to advantage. You're gonna win this fight. If you put him on the ground, you're gonna win this fight. I was like, just put him on the ground. Like, I was like, you have to. Yeah. Like, you have to. This is like, there's no choice. And he said, like, he heard me saying like this, and he's like, fuck, I need to put the guy down. And then he was so relieved when he like won that match because then he knew basically he could win the division. When he beat this guy. Okay, let me carry on.
Et après ça, quand j'ai mis le gars, j'ai gagné le combat et je savais que c'était le gars le plus dur de la catégorie, de l'absolute. En finale, j'ai fait de mon mieux. J'ai gagné la finale et après, on a appelé les gens. Ça s'est bien passé. À la fin, j'étais trop content parce que tout le monde j'ai prouvé aux gens qu'on peut, j'ai prouvé aux gens, je peux même dire ça comment, j'ai prouvé aux gens qu'on peut faire de notre mieux, que nous sommes les meilleurs et qu'on va continuer à s'entraîner et écraser les gens.
So yeah, I'll give him the mic back again in a minute because I need to probe him a bit more. But he was basically saying like the same thing like that I would have said, because he's already told me that once he won that guy like in the semi-final, that he knew that he could win the division. He was like super relieved because he was like, okay, fuck, I've done it. Like I know I can win this division now. I'm good. And he was like super happy to call everyone after because he proved to everyone back home that, you know, that we can be the best, you know what, like we can be the best, that we're doing our best, that we're doing a good job, and, you know, we can actually do something. Like, no one believe, like,
well, no one how would
really
anyone
believe,
know?
that we have the level, like training in the village there, that we can go and like come to Europe or whatever and win a tournament, that he can like smash through like 5-6 people or whatever and take home like a belt and prize money, like he's just a teenager from the village, you know, so they never believed in what we're doing. So he's like, I proved to everyone back home and everyone like following us, or everyone who knows what we're doing there, that we're doing a good job, you know, that we can go far.
Yeah.
Mais Franck, explique un peu comment tu te sentais quand tu appelais les gens, que tu as appelé, par exemple, quoi, qu'on a appelé Judith et ta mère. Huh? Okay, so I'll tell you what I said. Okay, so I'm saying like, explain how he felt yesterday when we called up like his aunt and my wife, who he lives with me and my wife. So we called her and the other boy that I live with as well, like who's basically like my other adopted son. Him and Frank and Brian both live with me and my wife. So we called them together. We called Frank's aunt together and like his cousin, and we like showed them the belts and stuff, and they were like super pumped. So I let him explain like how that was.
J'étais vraiment fier. Quand on montrait les deux ceintures, on avait arrêté les ceintures, on parlait au téléphone et surtout quand Brian est venu, il a vu la ceinture, il était fier parce que avant le jour de la compétition, il m'a dit tout le monde compte sur toi ici. Et dans les combats, je réfléchissais que sur ça. Si je perds les combats, je vais dire quoi à Brian? Parce qu'il m'a dit que tout le monde compte sur moi. Et j'étais tellement fier quand il a vu la ceinture, il a souri, et on a commencé à parler. J'étais tellement fier.
That basically, so when we called my wife and Brian, like the other boy who we lived with, he wasn't at the house. Like when we called the wife, we called Judith like this, and we're like, "Where's Brian?" Like he's not answering his phone. And she's like, "Oh, he went to the street to go get something from the shop." So we were showing about. My wife was like super pumped, like, "Oh, you guys like did a crazy good job." And then Brian like showed up in the middle of the phone call, and he said that he'd spoke to Brian the previous day and said like, Brian told him like everyone's counting on him, you know, that like to go and do a good job and whatever. So he said he was super proud, like to show Brian the belt and said like, "Look, we did it basically, you know, like I did what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, like." So everyone that believed in him, like they didn't like make a mistake to believe in him, basically. So yeah, super proud to show them the belts and medals and everything like this, and they were like super happy, like smiling, like, you know, it's like, cause it's crazy. It's not like, it's such a different culture, such a different world.
Yeah,
you know. It must have been weird also for Frank even just like coming to this country for a start, let alone like coming and winning tournaments, and you know. It's like a crazy experience. So, même pour ta mère, non? On a d'abord envoyé la photo. Elle a envoyé la voice. Like we sent a photo of me and him with the belts to his aunt because she wasn't answering the phone, and she sent us like a voice message like, "Hey, what the fuck? Like you guys won the. I'm guessing you guys won the UFC like with some crazy hardware there."
Yeah.
So then she called back when we were on the train going home, and like, you know, it was good vibes.
Nah, amazing
Everyone
stuff.
was super happy, you know.
Yeah. And before we forget, before we were gonna talk about Frank specifically, you wanted to talk a bit more about the jiu-jitsu at the foundation.
Yeah, so Frank is like a good example of like how far we've come, you know. It's now we've got like to the level where he's able to like win blue belt tournaments, you know, convincingly. Like it's not like squeak out a win, like I said, he dominated every single fight except one.
Yeah.
You know, so it shows that he's like a very good level blue belt, you know. So the other guys are not far behind him. There's certain guys which are better at certain things than him. You know, he's the most, I would say, like
well-rounded,
the best all round. Yeah, he's got like some takedowns. He's got incredible guard passing, and like his weakest point up until now has been his guard, but he's getting a lot better. Like yesterday, for example, he didn't get his guard pass in any of the matches. Like he was on the bottom twice, even though he's much more comfortable on the top. He got swept and was on the bottom. The guy passed, but he managed to recover his guard, like only give away an advantage, and then swept the guy straight back. So up until a month ago, I would have like he probably would have got, you know, in a worse situation, in a worse position then, you know, probably wouldn't have done such a good job retaining his guard and whatever. It's something we've been working a lot on because we know it was his weaker point.
Yeah.
And in the competition, you know, he showed like the work we've been putting in recently, didn't get past, and immediately as soon as he got his guard back, like even the tough guy that he was against in the final, like swept him 3 times because he got swept back. Oh no, he didn't get swept back. He went for footlocks and give away 2 points, you know, and then swept the guy back, went for a footlock again, give away 2 points, swept the guy back again, you know, so he was sweeping easily, like retaining his guard, like I wouldn't say easily, but he was doing a good job retaining his guard.
Yeah.
But there are other kids that are better guard players than him, you know. We got Calvin, who's like an 18-year-old lad that's another blue belt. He's also like very technical, very good, like same sort of weight, like another lightweight. But it's like very tricky. Like he was very good at tying you up in 50-50, like lapel guards, spider guard, anything which has involved grips. It's a nightmare. Like you just get tied up in his guard. So there's guys that are stronger than him in certain aspects of the game, but he's the most like well-rounded. So,
yeah.
But those other guys like Kelvin, I think they will do just as good as Frank in the competition because they have the, you know, the same kind of will to fight, right? So everyone there, they have a hard life, so they're not used to being pushed over, you know? Even if the fight is super hard, they're gonna keep going, you know?
Mental toughness.
Yeah, and don't let they won't let anyone come in and like dominate them. Maybe if you're like in training where they don't see the value
in fighting, yeah.
Or like if they're tired and this, I think this is like definitely true now after yesterday, because I think like when they know what's riding on it, they'll never give up. You know, like in that situation, like where he knows there's so many people relying on him and counting on him that he can't give up. Literally, in training, he knows that like it won't matter, or he thinks that it won't matter. Of course, like you build habits and stuff, so it's not good to give up, or let's say not give your best effort in training, because they will start to become a habit where you'll then allow that it can happen more easy in competition, right? But I think with them, they can flip that switch because they know what's on the line in the competition when they're representing their teammates and their family. They know what it can do for them and what it can do for us as a team. So it'll be really hard to beat them in competition, I think. Like once they have a bit of experience and then make a couple of like growing mistakes, let's say growing pains and stuff, to, you know, just to get used to competing, then it would be so hard to beat them. So yeah, I think this is their strongest point, like because they know so much. They know how much is riding on that. They don't have another choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'll go back to my old job. Or what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
Go back and work on the farm.
Yeah.
You know.
So how how can you get more, or as a foundation yourself, like the collective jiu-jitsu community, how can we get more of your students from the village out competing in tournaments? Because I assume that it's just a funding thing, right?
Primarily funding thing. That's like the biggest limitation, because it's not just a case of paying for them a trip. Their trip, they need ID card, which then basically they need an ID card to be able to do a passport application. You need to get a passport, which takes time and money. You know, it's expensive for the application. It's expensive also to take them to the city and go and stay there and wait for it to be processed and go and pick it up. It takes like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So you have to go with the city. You either have to go and wait for it to be released, or you have to go twice with them, feed them and all this kind of stuff. Once we get the passport, then we have to do the same thing for a visa application. For the visa application, there's like so many supporting documents that you need, so it takes time. And like for Frank, for example, like his dad's still alive, but his dad, like he grew up basically without a dad. So I had to track down his dad to basically get parental authorization to make a passport for him. So we had to like no one had a number for his dad or whatever. We're going to sidetrack, so I'll go into what's it going to take about to bring the other kids in a second. But while we're on this subject, to track down his dad wasn't easy, right? No one knew where he worked. No one had a number for him. We just heard like from the family that they think that he works in a bus station in the capital somewhere. So
wow,
we were calling around the bus station, like, do you have someone with this name working there? Like, no, like calling around, like. And in the end, my wife, who works in the bus station in another city near us, she spoke to our manager and asked him to call around the branches and stuff and see if they have the guy. And we found where he works. She called me like yeah, he works. I found the guy. He works at this place. He'll be working tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I was like, fuck. So I went and found his dad. Like, just showed up at the work wearing a suit. Like, oh, are you so and so? Are you the father of Frank, basically? And he was like, yes, sir. Because I was like, I'm much taller than him. I stood up close to him in a suit, like, because I was like nervous as well, because I was like, what if he refuses to sign his documents? Then what are we gonna do? I was like, he's not done anything for him up until this point in his life. So I find the guy. I don't know what he's gonna say. If he's gonna be interested, if he's gonna be angry, if he's gonna be like, fuck off, you know, or what. I don't know what he's gonna say. So I was like super nervous. Like, maybe he won't help us. Maybe he won't sign what we need him to sign. So I was like, okay, I need to put pressure on him, like, so that he feels like he's obliged to sign it, because, like, this is our best shot, basically. So I went there, like, are you the father of, like, Franck Takoudjou? He's like, yes, sir. I was like, okay. I was like, you need to sign this document. I was like, I'm the coach for the foundation. I was like, your son's one of my students. I was like, I'm trying to arrange travel documents for, basically a number of our best athletes. I was like, and your son is the only one who's not able to get his paperwork done because he basically doesn't have a dad. I was like, you fucked up enough already. Like, now you just need to sign this form so that we can make him a passport and so that we can take him to compete. And he was like, okay. He didn't ask me nothing about him. His dad never asked me, like, how is he? Where is he? What's he doing? Like, just said, okay, we can go over there and sign it. Go over to one side, signature. Do you need anything else? I was like blown away, because I was like, do you not even want to ask how is he? Like what the fuck? Like, I'm coming to tell you, like, I'm your son's coach. Like, I'm working with him like every day for the last 3 years, and you have nothing to say. Nothing to say. Like, and I was pissed. I was super angry with him that day, because I was like, how can you not even have like a single thing to say about your son, like, or a single thing to ask, you know? What kind of mindset do you have to like, you abandon your son, someone comes to try to help them, and you don't even have like a single, you're not interested about the situation to even ask anything. You know, so I was like, fuck this guy, really. I was like, fucking, just sign this form and like fuck off, basically. But then after we needed him to sign another form for the visa, I was like, oh my god, I'll go back there again. So I went back to, now I've seen his dad like more times in his life than he has, you know, because I keep going to get him to sign forms in the in the capital, you know, to do the travel documents and stuff like this. And this leads me, we can go into it after, when we talk about, after we finish talking about what the process is basically to bring kids over. They stopped us in immigration on the way over. Just remind me of that, and I'll we'll go into that after, because it's a bit of a story. So yeah, basically we need to sort out passport, travel, visa, and then you have expenses obviously for flights, accommodation, food, competition, everything basically. And I have to go with them, you know, coach them and everything, take care of them, show them around, like guide them basically with what they're going to be doing. I can't just send like a 14-year-old to go and do a competition somewhere. Like they need to go with their coach and with their team, right? So it's basically like a lot of expenses and a lot of paperwork for anyone to be able to do it. And a lot of the kids, or a few of the kids, it's hard to get them their paperwork done because of situations like with Frank, he doesn't have his dad wasn't around, and his mum passed away like a year before I moved out there. So when he was like 13, it's 2015, his mum passed away. So he was like 12, 13 when his mum passed away. And the same thing with Brian, the other kid that lives with me. His mum passed away when he was young, and his dad kind of like sent him off to live with an uncle, and he doesn't see his dad anymore, you know. So with him, it's going to the same sort of thing. I've got to like kind of track down his dad to sign, or to find out how to sign forms for him. Who's going to be the one responsible to sign his forms? And
you're trying to legally adopt
those two. Yeah, those two, because they both live with me. Those two is the same situation. They both of them, they don't have a mum. Their mum died, and both of their dads abandoned them. So they were, up until they started living with me, they were living with, like, Frank was living with his aunt, and Brian was living with his grandmother in the village. And they trained with me, both of them, since the beginning. So we trained together every day, and then they always used to like come to the house, like eat food at our house. Like at some point I had a PlayStation, like I got a PlayStation, they come to the house, play PS games like in the evening, like just go home to sleep and stuff like this. So they go home late at night. Sometimes they'd like crash on the sofa and go back the next day. And at one point, like a year or so ago, they're like, "Oh, why can't we just stay here?" I was like, well, you can. I was like, if you want, you can stay here. Like, if it's okay with your family. It's like, you know, I was like, you have to check with your aunt or with your grandma or whatever. I was like, but if you guys want to stay here, like that's fine with me. Like, because I know that they, especially for Brian, like his situation was like a bit tricky at home. Like he wasn't on good terms with the family that he's living with. Like he didn't talk to them. He'd just go into his room. Like he'd stay at our place till late at night and then go into his room, come back in the morning. And like he wouldn't eat at home. I'd be like, "Oh, Brian, what did you eat last night?" "Oh, nothing." I'm like, "Well, why are you going home and not eating, just going to bed?" I was like, "If you don't have anything to eat, just tell me." Like, because he was like, he's a very quiet kid. So he doesn't really say a lot. Or in the past, like before we started living together as like a family like this, he didn't say a lot. He was coming to training, showing up at the house, just sit there quietly, you know. And we'd go home and not eat anything, not tell anyone, you know. And I was like, "Look, you don't need to. Why do you think that like you can't ask me for something to eat, you know? Like if you don't have anything to eat at home, like we spend all the time together, just say like there's nothing to eat at home. Can I have something to eat? You know?" I was like, "There's no problem. If I know that you haven't got anything to eat, then we'll sort something out, you know, like, oh, I can't send you to bed hungry, you know." So then he's eating every day at the house as well, you know. And then in the end, he was like, "I'd rather just stay here," basically. So we spoke to the family. First of all, they started staying like in the school holidays, and then after that, like, "Can we just stay here?" I was like, "Depends on your family." So in the end, they moved in. I sorted out their bedrooms. They got a spare room. Those two, they sleep in a spare room with my wife's 3-year-old son. So it's like 3 of them in a bed. It's like 17-year-old and 15-year-old with a 3-year-old sleeping in the middle. Yeah. So we got 2 bedrooms, and that's it basically. That's how our house works at the moment. Yeah. Me and my wife in one room, and then Frank and Brian and Fred in the other room. And then we've got like a small little apartment like this, but it's kind of, we made it work. So So yeah, so for Frank and Brian, I'm now trying to adopt them because basically, for me, they're like my kids anyway. They live with me. Like, I pay for everything for them, you know, in terms of like food, clothes, school fees, because school is not free in Cameroon. I take them to school. Like, I take them, they come to training with me. We cook dinner together. We do everything together, right? So we spend all the time like a family. And I have got to the point now, like 3.5 years in, where I'm thinking like, I don't really want to spend the rest of my life in Cameroon, right? I would like to still be involved with stuff over there. I don't want to like never go to Cameroon again or whatever, but I don't want to be there full time for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, I want to come back and potentially open a gym.
In the UK?
At some point.
Nice.
Like, finances permitting, you know. Like, I'm not in that situation to do that yet, but at some point I want to do that. So as soon as I realized like, okay, I'm not going to be in Cameroon my whole life, then I was like, what about those two who live with me now, you know? If I go back to the UK, they don't have any right to come to the UK and live in the UK. Like, they don't even have like documents, Cameroon documents, nothing. So I was like, what can I do? If I don't want to, they already got left, they got abandoned already by their real dads, you know, both of them. So if I move back to the UK now, I can't just be like, okay, cheers boys, I've had a good time living with you, like, see you later, take care of yourselves, you know. I was like, now I'm like, we're literally like a family, and it's like it's not even I don't know, up for discussion, like if I should take them or not, you know. Of course, if they didn't want to, if they wanted to stay in Cameroon, no problem, then that makes things easier for me, like fine, okay, if you want to stay there, cool. But if they don't, if they want to stay with me, and like, I'll be more than happy for them to come with me, but it's just a case of paperwork, right?
Yeah.
Like having the legal documents to come here. So I was like, okay, so the best way around it that I can think is like, they live with me already as my kids, so why don't I legally adopt them, or try to legally adopt them, and then we can move back to the UK together at some point and run a business together, because they're both very good at teaching. Frank is also a very good competitor, you know. So Brian's more like a silent killer, like coach.
Yep.
Like details, like he's younger, but he's super high level detail, like in like very good at, I don't know, following like a complicated position and understanding and breaking down a position. So he's like, and he's not interested in like too much in fighting. He's like, just likes doing jiu-jitsu and likes, like, he's a technical guy. So he'll be a great person to like run a gym with, you know. Problem is that their English level, but I'm working on that. So we got like, this is basically the program now for those two, is like, try to go back to Cameroon next month, start trying to sort out the adoption process, because it's complicated, because Frank's mum never had a death certificate. When she died, they didn't know that they need to make a death certificate. They didn't know that it would be something that would be useful at a later date. And to adopt someone, you have to prove that you either have to have a signature of the parents given consent, or they legally have to prove that they've been taken away from the parents, or that the parents are deceased, right? So in his case, the mum's dead. There's no death certificate. So we had to like, this is another crazy situation, but we've basically spent the last couple of months trying to sort out with it, like court hearings and tribunal, like to get a death certificate, official death certificate for the mum. So this should be sorted soon, and then we can start the adoption process. So this is also going to take money. It's going to cost like about £1,000 each for them two. So yeah. So yeah, with them two, I would love to bring also other kids over, but you know, I've got to be like slightly realistic, because even that's like it's a lot, right? To adopt two people, and my wife's also pregnant at the moment, so I've got another one on the way. So it's a family of like 6 people that I'm now responsible for.
Opposed to when you went out there, it was just you
alone. Now I'm like responsible for me and 5 others, you know. So because she's got a kid, I've got those 2, and I've got another one coming. So 6 people. So I mean, come on, how many more people can I take care of? You know, like the other kids, of course. This is why I want to keep ties, keep a good connection with the foundation, and keep working with them, because I want to be involved with the other kids' journey also in jiu-jitsu. I don't want them to like
you don't want their journey to end.
Yeah,
with
I don't want them to stop training jiu-jitsu or not have any chance to. I want to still try and open up. If we can open up a gym abroad, like in the UK, it will take time, but at a certain point we can do like an exchange or something like that. Get guys coming from over there, send guys from here to train with them, and you know, set up some sort of network where they can come here to train and compete, and guys can go there to have like a training camp or whatever. You know, I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but something like that. You know, to keep connected with those guys.
Do you have any idea who would take over at the foundation?
The other students, like Kelvin,
Okay.
and not necessarily Kelvin.
So you think they're at a point now where they can actually run the foundation themselves?
Run is a strong word. They can teach. Yeah, they have the technical level to teach, and they can do that. But like, yeah, I think.
Do you think it will be able to keep itself together without you?
I think it'll be really hard if I'm not there at all. But if I go back regularly, I think we can manage. Because if they see like that's the situation, they see that like the opportunities are coming, you know, then they'll be more encouraged to run it by themselves. Be like, okay, to basically be more serious when I'm there. Because at the moment it's me that's like pushing them to, you know, be more serious and be more professional. Basically, I'm like, look, guys, you can train for fun, but this is not going to be if you're talking about doing this as a career, this is like a different thing, right? It's a different mindset. You need to be serious about your training. Doesn't mean you can't have fun, of course, but you need to realize that the other people that are like at the top of the sport, they're not fucking around, basically.
Yeah.
You know, they're training seriously. They're taking their training like a job. You know, even if they love the jiu-jitsu, there's still obligation. You have to be there, like, you know, like multiple times a day, basically. Of course, the kids in school, there's school obligations and stuff, but for those that have finished school or that don't go to school, you know, then they need to be using any spare time that they have to improve in jiu-jitsu and try to find a way to advance in the sport, basically. So yeah, I think that they will be able to run that we'll be able to run it together. Like, so I can basically run it from afar and let's say go back for 3 or 4 weeks a few times a year, like 3-4 times a year. This is like in an ideal world. You know, I don't know how it's going to play out yet. I need to discuss with Francis like what he thinks about the idea, because we haven't discussed yet about this. So I've been trying to get hold of him to, you know, to see if he's interested in doing anything in the UK, but we haven't talked about it yet. So hopefully he'll still be willing for me to be involved with the foundation, even if I'm not there full time. Yeah. That's the ideal situation. But like I said, like coming back with Frank and Brian, in the beginning I was like, you know, not in the beginning, like when I first decided like that I probably would want to come back, I was like, oh, I have to try to bring, like, we need to try to find a way to get everyone, not everyone, but, you know, trying to think how to help everyone, basically. And you can't. There's no way. How can I bring like an entire team of people to the UK? Like, with what money? Like, not unless I get like a crazy sponsor, like, which we were hoping for at one point, but with like Ruka, if you're listening, Ruka, please, we're still there. Yeah, they
help
were,
you
like,
bring a lot of kids over.
Yeah, well, basically they were talking about funding us to build a gym, basically. Not necessarily here. I think they were talking more over there, but basically they wanted to help us take a team of kids to compete in the US, right? So this is, if it got a big company which has a big budget, that they could easily pay for like a team of 10 kids to go and do like worlds, like kids worlds. But for like, with fundraising, to pay for like 10 people to go to US, to pay for 10 return plane tickets plus their stay, is like, you're talking like £10,000, you know. It's not easy to fundraise like £10,000 just for a trip, and then your money's dry and you've got nothing else left. So we do that trip, we go to the Worlds, we get some medals, we spent 10 grand, now we've got nothing again. You know, so unless you've got a big company behind you that can keep like pumping money into the project, because obviously training is free for everyone, and we don't make any money. It's a social project, so it's not something like which is generating cash that we can then.
It's not a business.
No, it's not a business. It's just like a social project, volunteer, non-profit kind of thing. So Thank you, sir. Is it better? Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be really hard to do anything with everyone unless we've got some real support.
Yeah.
You know, so from my side, what I can help with personally, I'm trying to help these two guys first and foremost, because they're the ones that are like, when I decide, okay, like if they're living with me, then I really need to be responsible for them. You know, I can't like be half responsible for them. You know, I'm like, decide like, I'll go all in. Like I'll adopt them. Fuck it. Like I'll take responsibility for these two kids because they don't have anyone else that's responsible for them. But I can't do that for everyone. It's not possible. Like, it's really not possible. Like, a big company can do it. Me personally, no, I can't. I would love to be able to. I'd love to say like, okay, let me like arrange paperwork for all the kids, make a gym in the UK, and they can travel. All of them can travel. I don't want to like, make them all leave Cameroon, obviously, but it would be cool if they all had the opportunity to come to the UK like twice a year or something, compete and go back. But that's like money, right? That's just money. So yeah, we were talking about the process also for this, like passports. You got to get all those kids passports, all those kids visas, all of them plane tickets, you know, for every case. So as you can imagine, like a one-man band to do all of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff you're doing already.
Well. It's not just money as well. It's time for every single kid. It takes time to arrange everything. And then at the same time as all of that, I've got to also coach them, you know, every day.
Yeah.
So I've got to be in the gym morning and night, and I'm supposed to also be going to the court every day. Going for like court tribunals and going to passport offices every day. There's no one. It's not like we got a team of people. Like, okay, you send one guy to the passport office. Like, I'm the one doing it by myself. So it's stressful and whatever. So there was something else we were going to go into.
Well, you mentioned getting stopped at immigration.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we've been basically trying to sort out Franck's travel documents for the last year and a half. Which, like, first of all, we couldn't get. When you do like an application for a national identity card, it's like a waiting process. So you put in all the application, you say like you pay the fees, and they give you like a temporary receipt and say like, okay, your card should be out in 3 months, but maybe a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe whatever. You know, it's like nothing's on time there. So that took a long time to come out. We were waiting for like a year for the card. We went to the city, to the Yaoundé, try and find it, say like, what's going on? His card's not coming out. You know, chased it down with the police and everything, and eventually so it took us like, let's say, a year to get his card. And then we were like, okay, now we can use the card, because you need the ID card number to do the passport application online. So you can't even start the application until you have the actual ID card. The same number is not on the passport, on the ID card receipt. So you need the final printed ID card before you can use the number to make the passport application. So we had to wait for all of that. Then we do the passport application online. Then it says you need parental authorization, right? So then we like, fucking hell, we need to track down his dad and all this kind of stuff. So all this process, long process. It takes us a year and a half to get a passport. We do like a visa application. Scramble invited us to come over and do Polaris. So they like wrote an invitation for Franck to come, because you need an invitation letter. You need a reason why you're going to come to the UK. You know, you're not going to, they won't grant someone a visa for no reason just to come and like have a holiday in the UK, because they're too afraid that people from Africa or like, I guess anywhere in Africa, that they'll just come and try and like run away, basically, and they don't want like illegal immigrants, basically. So they're really strict on issuing visas. So basically, we got the visa. Took a long time to come out. We got the visa, but it came out after Polaris. We missed Polaris, and then so I tracked Franck's dad down to get him to sign the document for the visa again, and he texted me like after 2 months or whatever, asking me if the visa would come out for Polaris, and because it was for November. And I replied, I was like, no, it's not out yet, which it wasn't. I was like, we're still waiting. And then after like two more weeks, the visa came out, and I was like, oh shit, they actually got an email saying like, you know, his visa's ready to collect, or passport's ready to collect, travel documents, whatever it said. And I was like, oh fuck, like actually, because we thought it was like not going to come out because it was taking so long. We're like, fuck, they're not going to accept it. So we made the decision, stupid decision probably, in hindsight. His aunt was like, "Oh, I don't think you need to tell his dad. He's already signed the documents and stuff. You already have authorization to travel with him. So no point, like, what's he done for him in his life? There's no point in telling him like your travel plans or whatever. Like, he's just tell." There, it's like on a need to know basis, basically. You know, like, don't talk too much. They always tell me I talk too much.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I prefer to just tell things how it is, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not how it's done there. So the aunt and Frank was like, no, you don't need to tell the dad. Like, let's just go. Like, he's already signed the forms or whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. So we booked the flights to go to the UK, come back for Christmas after, and stay for January. Stay up until my mum's birthday in February. And the day that we were leaving, I had to go and see his dad in the workplace again, like in the bus station, to get him to sign another form, but this time for the IBGF form, right? Because he's a minor, he's only 17, so he needs his dad to sign, like, he needs his parental authorization for whatever, basically. Once I adopt him, that'll be me that will be responsible for that, but it's not yet legalized or anything like this. So at the moment, we still need to keep tracking down his dad and say, like, can you sign this form? So this was the day I was leaving with Frank. I went to see his dad in the bus station, saying, "Can you sign this form? I need it to make a IBGF like Jiu-Jitsu card for him because we want to try to get a visa to go to France to do the Europeans," which is the truth. But I didn't tell his dad, because they told me not to, that we'd already got the visa for the UK and that we were already traveling to the UK. I told his dad that I'm going to the UK. I didn't say I'm going with Frank. So then we get to the UK. Me and Frank arrive in the UK. After like a long flight, stopping by Belgium, we arrive in the UK, and immigration are like, "So, who are you? Like, what are you doing here?" Asking like shitloads of questions, and they were like, "So why are you traveling with him? How do you know him?" I'm like, "I'm his coach. Like, I'm the one traveling." They're like, "Oh, it doesn't say on his visa that you're the one to travel with him." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Well, it said I was like, we did the visa application. I had to submit all my documents. I had to explain like that I'd be accompanying him on a trip. This was like a requirement for the visa. You know, you have to have parental authorization. You have to have proof of where he's going to stay, proof of who he's going to be traveling with, everything like this. I had to submit my passport, like bank statement, everything saying that I've got enough funds to cover his stay, all of this kind of stuff. And they were like, "No, it doesn't say that on it." It's saying like, I was like, "Can you not check the application? Is it like when you scan the visa, does it not show that information has been submitted?" They're like, "No." They're like, "Do you not have it with you? Do you not have the paperwork with you?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I didn't realize I need to come with the visa application paperwork." I thought like when the visa's in, it basically is like scanned on the computer, like, "Yep, his documents have already been submitted."
Yeah.
But they were like, no, it doesn't show us anything. Like, so then basically like, "Can you go sit down over there, please?" They give us a paper saying your right to enter the UK has temporarily been revoked. Like, we've retained your passport and ID and everything. And they went into like a room discussing stuff, come back out, asked me and him a load of questions, go back in for 30 minutes. We were there for 5.5 hours.
No way.
They were like, "Can we have his dad's number?" And I was like, oh my God, his dad doesn't even know he's in the UK. Like,
Yeah.
So they asked for his dad's phone number. They were like, "We need to call his dad to check that he knows he's traveled." I was like, fuck. I was like, he doesn't even know that he's traveled because I didn't tell him. So I give him the dad's phone number. They turn around and start walking off into the office. I'm like calling his dad on WhatsApp, sending messages like, "The UK government is about to call you." Like, I'm with Frank in the UK. I was like, "Please tell them that you know he's here."
Yeah.
Please. And then I'm sending them a message because I didn't know if they were like watching us or whatever. It's the first time I've had to sit in immigration. I didn't know if they're like spying on us. So I was like, shit. I was just sending messages like this, like, "Please tell them." I was like, "I'm in the UK with Frank. Sorry, I should have told you." I was like, "I know I fucked up, but please just tell them, otherwise they're going to send him back."
Yeah.
And then messages on WhatsApp I see is like they're not seen, like he's not read them.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. So I'm calling, like, I can't call him on his phone because I don't have like the Cameroonian SIM card to call a Cameroonian number, right? It's like international call. So the only way to contact him is WhatsApp, but he's not got internet connection on his phone. So I was like, okay. So I called Frank's cousin, who was connected on WhatsApp, and give him the dad's phone number and said, "Please call him on his normal number. Tell him that I'm stuck in immigration in the UK and that UK government are about to call him, and I'm with Frank, and that we fucked up. We didn't tell you it was traveling, but please tell them that you know about it, because imagine like the government call his dad and say like, oh, I'm here, your son's here at the border of the UK. Like, do you know about this? And they'd be like, no.
Yeah.
They'd just send him back. They'd be like, okay. Like, what the fuck? 17-year-old here, his dad doesn't even know he's travelled. Because they don't know the situation. His dad, he didn't grow up with a dad.
Yeah.
He's just the legal guardian on his document, right? So they don't know that he doesn't even know his dad or whatever. So I was like, fucking hell. I was so stressed out, and we sat there, like I said, 5 hours. In the end, they never actually spoke to his dad, but they spoke to basically his aunt. They couldn't understand anything. They spoke to him, took him in the room, checking like how he knows me and whatever. And it was like complicated, because the story is so like, complicated and weird.
Of course, especially for a Westerner,
yeah. Yeah, they're like, like they were super suspicious, like, so how do you know him? I was like, he's one of my students. They're like, so why were you in Cameroon? I'm like, I'm over there doing like volunteer jiu-jitsu coach. They're like, so I was like, so they say he lives with you? Because I told him like he lives with me and my wife. They're like, right, so where are his parents? I'm like, oh my God. Like, it was like going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And I'm like, man, like, how much do you want me to explain? Like, the situation's complicated there. Like, I was like, I can explain it all, but I don't know if it's just like, tell me what you need to know, because you're going to be like, it's basically like reading your book, you know? And in the end, they come back out and said like, okay, we've decided to let you travel with him this time. Like, I was like, fuck. I was thinking like I was have to book a flight straight back to Cameroon, you know? So yeah, and we got there in the end. But
there you go, and the trip was all worth it, eh? Have you enjoyed your time here? Yeah? Yeah?
We've got 3 weeks left, but we're leaving London tomorrow. We're leaving London, go back to my hometown, Torquay, stay there with my family for a couple of weeks, train at my original gym where I started training jiu-jitsu, which is like Fightworks with Darren Yeoman. I was there from white till brown belt, so before moving up to London and training with Marco.
Yeah.
So we'll go back, spend some time with the family, train down there. And we've got one more competition before we leave.
Amazing.
In Manchester. I don't know how we're going to get all the way up to Manchester, but that's another All-Stars event like a couple of days before we leave. And then we've got my mum's birthday on the 7th, because we're staying. I booked it like so that we'd fly back the day after my mum's birthday, because it's her 60th.
Nice.
So I was like, I can't really be there like right up until your birthday and then leave just before.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, we'll push it a little bit and stay till the next day.
That's awesome, man.
So you've got Christmas in the UK, birthdays in the UK, competitions in the UK.
Having a good time?
Plenty.
Good.
Eating plenty of food. He put on like 3 kilos in the first week. So he's normally like 75 kilos like all the time.
Yeah. And
we rested him for like 76 kilo division, like lightweight. And then stepped on the scale, was like 79 kilos. It's like, what the fuck?
You'll be heavyweight by the time you go home.
Yeah, this is the idea. Like, he likes to eat, you know? So it's not bad. I think it's good to eat when you're growing, you know?
100%.
Like, you don't want to be cutting weight too much when you're young.
True.
You know, wait till your body's finished developing, and then you can, like, you know your kind of size and weight. So.
But Sam, I mean, it was great to chat to you. Lots of interesting stuff happening by the sounds of it, and I think your story, just like it was before, it's such an inspirational story of yourself kind of putting yourself in a unknown position in the middle of a village in Cameroon somewhere, where you're not living with all the luxuries that you would be used to in the country, and really changing a lot of these kids' lives through jiu-jitsu. I know that there's a few ways to get to help the cause through donations and stuff like that. If you want to mention them here, and then I'll mention them again in my outro. Yeah. But if anyone wants to help support, obviously, all of the stuff that you're doing, you need money to do it, be it getting tickets, be it getting details, passports, ID cards, bringing these kids over, traveling back and forth.
Everything, right?
Everything requires money. And if anyone listening wants to help out, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, okay, so basically, like you just said, so we don't have any support for the jiu-jitsu program. Like the foundation, we have somewhere to train, they provide us somewhere to train, but it's not in their interest basically to create jiu-jitsu competitors, right? They're there to give the kids somewhere to train in the village, but the kids want to become champions. A few of the kids would like passionate about jiu-jitsu and want to become champions. So either we leave them in a village so they just waste their talent, right? Or I try and do some fundraising and we try and organize how to make that happen for them, like ourselves. So we set up, there's a PayPal page, which is, you can find the links on my Instagram. There's a link in the bio on my Instagram.
I'll put all that detail in the outro.
So there's a PayPal page, paypal.me/Batié Death Squad. And there's also a GoFundMe, which I just set up since we come back to the UK this time with Frank. There's a GoFundMe link, which is also online. And while we're here in the UK, we're doing a couple of like seminars and fundraising classes and stuff like that. So to try and raise money, like private classes and whatever. So anyone's interested in like having us for seminars, or if this, I don't know when you're putting the podcast out, but if it's there if it's out while we're still in
it will be out probably in the next couple of days.
Get in touch
or like next time you're over here.
Exactly. So I'm intending to come back again, potentially July and August. You know, I got the baby due in June, so I can't fuck off straight away. I've got to wait at least a month.
Yep.
But then hopefully not just Frank. I want to bring maybe two of them back, maybe Frank and Brian, back in July and August, so they can see the UK is not always freezing cold.
Yeah.
So next time we'll publish online like in advance. Now that we've like kind of opened the door and started the process of bringing guys over and started competing as a team. Now we can kind of like let people know in advance that we're going to be coming to the UK on these dates, you know, and we're always looking for people to host us for seminars or workshops or whatever, you know, anything that's going to help us with fundraising stuff. So we've got the links on my Instagram page, and if you can share it as well.
I will share it, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a few other things that we can do actually, but I'll have a discussion with you afterwards. I've got some ideas.
Yeah, anyone's got any other ideas, then you can always hit us up on Instagram as well, either Dan or me.
Yep.
And Dan can always forward it on to me. You know, my Instagram is Sam Crook BJJ now. I changed it the other day because it was too long.
Yep.
Sam Crook BJJ, and you can just send me a message on there. And if you've got any ideas, or if you want to work together to do something, if you're involved with any companies or anything like that might be interested in supporting the project, then we can talk and see what we can come up with.
100%. Thank you very much, Sam, for coming on again. Thank you very much, Frank, for having you on the first time. And do you want to say anything to all your new fans after listening to you on here?
Très pas bien compris.
Si tu veux dire quelque chose aux gens qui te soutiennent, qui t'écoutent, et qui t'en veulent dans la compétition ou quoi, ou qui nous suit en ligne.
Merci les gars de nous suivre, on compte sur vous pour nous aider, on attend votre soutien, merci beaucoup.
So basically just said thanks everyone for the support, and like we're counting on your support and we appreciate it a lot. So thanks, and keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep doing what we're doing.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
That is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Like I said before, incredibly inspiring to me. And I think it really puts life in perspective as well. Some of the struggles that these kids go through, and the struggles that Sam goes through, that he's put himself in this position to not live an easy life in order to help others, I think is incredibly admirable. And I'm a massive fan and supporter of what he's doing. If you want to follow Sam, then you can check out his Instagram. His handle is @SamCrookBJJ. You can also check out @Checkmat Cameroon for the team Instagram page. If you want to donate to Sam and the cause, then you can check out his GoFundMe, which is through his Instagram, or the link to his PayPal is www.paypal.me/Batié Death Squad, which is BATIE Death Squad. As you heard in the episode, funding is a massive issue. Nothing can be done without money. So during the podcast, and I spoke to Sam about it afterwards, I was thinking about some ways that I could potentially help. So be on the lookout for the hopefully not so distant future. I'm going to see if we can arrange Sam to record an instructional with himself teaching, possibly even some of the kids teaching their favorite techniques, which I will then help him host and sell online, and 100% of the proceeds go to Sam and the cause, doing whatever he wants to do with it, whether it's getting these kids documents so they can go and compete, or just helping them in any way which he can, which he's already trying to do with the limited resources that he has. So keep a lookout for that in the hopefully not so distant future. As always, if you want to follow myself, then you can find me on Instagram at raspberry_ape. Or if you want to follow just the podcast, then at Raspberry Ape Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, or indeed any episode, then please do feel free to leave a review on Spotify or iTunes or whatever other platform you listen on, and share it with your friends and family and random people that you see in the street. Just scream it at them. Go listen to the Raspberry podcast. And if you do that enough, hopefully a few people will listen. That's about it, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you next time. Take it easy.